This is why you check for the audio gremlins before you do the thing. There's always audio gremlins. Always. We're just staring at Andrew's icon, waiting for it to light up.
Jesus Christ!
There he is.
Hi, Andrew.
Look, the delivery guy was late. I was getting ready to join this thing, and then I couldn't remember how the fucking machine worked.
I've been on Discord on my phone so long.
I don't know. Everything's plugged in fine, but I didn't remember to scroll down to find fucking Frankie Play. I kept right clicking on podcast planning going, where's the fucking chat? What's happening?
I tried clicking. I tried double clicking. I'm out of clicks.
I right clicked and it wasn't there, and I left clicked and it wasn't there, and then Jamie called me.
Clicks there could ever be. I don't know.
Fucking Jamie calling me on the goddamn landline, whatever a cell phone is now.
Kevin just said he got rid of caller ID because only people that call you are scammers, and I'm like, I'm going to scam Andrew.
Yeah.
Welcome to Pixels and Puppets, the Operation Puppet Podcast, the only podcast to combine the subjects of gaming, tech, media, and puppets for no easily explainable reason. It's Friday, January 10th, 2025. You are the internet. I am Kevin Blades. My pronouns are he, him, and this is episode 1 of season 3 of Pixels and Puppets, the Operation Puppet Podcast. Joining me are my co-hosts. His pronouns are he, him. It's Jamie, aka Scumboy.
Why, hello.
And his pronouns are he, him. It's Andrew, aka Bat Phantom.
Coughing sound.
So, yeah, we had originally intended to record this together, of course, because we haven't been together since the last podcast. And then Andrew's roommate, Matt, shout out Matt, got sick, and therefore Andrew got sick, and we are therefore taking precautions.
We are abundancing of caution.
This is the most caution there's ever been. How you feeling, Andrew?
I'm all right. It's actually well under control with the modern medicine of modern medicines of modern
medicine
times.
of modern medicines.
It's good. It's fine. It's good. Everything. It's fine. Everything's fine.
There's no medicine he hasn't taken. Ivermectin in the ear.
Riddled with horse dewormer.
They won't let me buy it anymore.
they get your picture up by the cash register. Just don't sell this guy any more horse tranquilizer.
And next to it, it's a picture of John Cougar Mellencamp saying, "Do not sell this man a chili dog."
So,
Tasty Freeze didn't make it through COVID.
No. And speaking of COVID, so it's New Year, yay! I don't know.
Happy
what are we
New
doing?
Year.
What?
It's a happy New.
Yeah, well, I mean, so far it's not the worst unless you're in California. So anyway,
oh Jesus!
If you are in California, we are thinking of you. Our thoughts are go with you.
Absolutely.
And boy, that's a lot of bad things because wow.
We were in Anaheim and LA last year. It's crazy seeing places that we were at. Just being affected like that, it's crazy.
And the other thing is like just to watch this unfolding on the current social media, and we've all become. It's more than just desensitized. We just expect it. We just expect the horrible thing, and we're just like, yeah, okay, whatever. It's another terrible thing that happened. So anyway, how are you? It's like that now.
I haven't been following Blue Sky since the election, but a lot of the people I follow are based out of Los Angeles, so I know a lot of them are affected.
I'm now sort of realizing because I followed a bunch of the starter packs and everything, and it's like it turns out a lot of people that I'm following are in or know people in California. So we're thinking of you. I hope you're okay. I hope your family's okay. And bad. So anyway, how is everybody else's New Year's? Andrew got a disease.
My New Year's been nominal.
Excellent. That's the best we could hope for, really. Did you have a restful vacation at least, or holiday, or Christmas, or whatever? All that stuff.
My partner and I spent most of it when we visited family for 3 of the days of the 2 weeks we were off, and the rest of the time we were under blankets playing Stardew Valley. So it was a really good break.
I got to visit my brother in Santa Rosa out on the West Coast, and it was delightful. Really nice to be out in the relative warmth. It's only 13 degrees, but
that's better than this. It's been real
exactly.
Cold.
Yeah,
it's all about perspective.
Yeah, I did not have a restful vacation. I'm actually glad to get back to it because 2 days before Christmas, my mother-in-law got COVID.
For the first time, you were saying?
For the first time. And the morning of Christmas Eve, she had to be taken to the hospital. And we had a quite stressful holidays. Now, she's fine. Everybody I should have front-loaded this with that.
Yeah.
But sorry. No, she's fine.
I'm going to go to the jocularity, and then we'll tell you she's fine.
Yeah. So, she is fine. She's recovered. We're going over there on Sunday to have the makeup Christmas that we didn't get to have. So, no, everything's fine. But it's just yet another reminder that, let me tell you, for most of y'all, I know COVID is over. It's not over for a lot of us. No. And that includes, elderly people and people with immunocompromised systems, like people with diabetes, for example, like me.
Yep.
So, just think about that. Anyway, now that I've scolded our entire audience, which feels great. That's a good way to start a new year-end podcast. We should probably...
It's more of a reminder.
It really... Well, that's the thing. It was just like, this is one of the reasons why I think I've been a little hyper this week. And it's because I'm like, okay, we're getting past all that. We're done. It turned out okay. We survived. Let's move on and get back to something like normalcy. Whatever passes for normal around here, which, as you all know, isn't terribly normal, and that's the way we like it.
That's right.
So anyway, we're gonna stop scolding the audience, and we are going to move on. I got to remember what the button to do. Let's see, transition there. Okay, here we go. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be back with the Puppet Pit.
You have entered an alternate dimension, a dimension of fleece and fur, of foam and industrial adhesives, so I hope you have good ventilation. A signpost up ahead. Watch your step. You have just stumbled into the Puppet Pit.
Welcome to the Puppet Pit, where we talk about the puppet side of Operation Puppet for the last, how long? Like a month?
Well, you kind of went on break when the podcast stopped.
That's true. So we've been back. Strictly speaking, we've been back for a week.
Yes.
So let's go with a week. But before that week, up until then, the last time we talked, I think the Canada post strike was still happening, wasn't it? If I think it finished correctly.
Up. It was letting up.
Yeah. So things had not recovered. So I spent like over a month where I hadn't had any sales, none, and that's bad. That was very bad. And of course now we go into, then it's now Christmas, and it's like a couple of days before Christmas, and then we get post Christmas, and I'm like, definitely no one's buying any puppets, right? Well, guess what? People bought some puppets.
No one continued to buy. Oh my God! I thought for sure you were setting us up for their
Boxing Day puppets.
It was weird, man. I'm telling you, people just I suddenly went from having a very full store to having an almost empty store over the holidays. What? So anyway,
I'm sure WooCommerce will let you do it, but have you thought about having gift cards? Gift codes?
No, I can do all that stuff, and I can. I really should kind of get on that. It dips a little too far into the marketing guy territory that it makes me feel kind of icky. But
sometimes people just want to get somebody a puppet, but maybe the puppet they want to get them isn't there and they don't want to commission one, so they're going to let them pick one from the stock or wait until one comes up.
I will.
So,
you know what? I really should. You're absolutely right. And I should have done that when the Canada Post strike ended.
Yeah.
Right. But the thing is, it turns out I didn't have to because suddenly people want some puppets. So that was great and weird and unexpected. But it just goes to show. I don't know. I think I can predict how things are going to go, and they never ever go the way I think they're going to go. So,
well, it's a pleasant surprise.
They don't follow the rules. So what that comes down to is like I'm back to building for the shop because I need to like restock the shop. So that's what we're doing now. We started building some more of. I'm starting slow because it was a heck of a time on the holidays, and I want to kind of ease back into it. I really
thought you were going to pivot right. I really did. I thought you were going to say, you know what? Maybe I should go right wing and start making a non-woke puppets.
Exactly. That's the problem. The puppets are too woke.
You were all set to launch that, hit that button, and then all of a sudden, ding! Oh, I sold a puppet. Oh, I sold another. What the fuck is going on?
No. It turned out okay. It just like the mother-in-law story at the beginning of the podcast, it turned out okay. I really got to front load these things, but yes.
The Dragon sold.
The Dragon sold. Now this is the wild thing. Speaking of things you can't predict. So, I just thought when I looked at the Dragon, I'm like, oh, this will sell. And then it sat on the store for a month. Mm-hmm. And then one day over the holidays, somebody bought it. And within 24 hours of somebody buying it, I got 2 independent and separate sourced inquiries. Oh, I love that dragon. Where'd it go? So now I have to make more because people want it. And
there's now a demand.
As soon as it was gone, suddenly people it's so strange. I don't know how humans work. It's just weird.
They didn't want it until they couldn't have it. Now they want it.
Exactly.
So yeah, and that's the other thing. It is kind of that, and that's why I don't want to because this is what happens with every, IP or whatever. They go, oh, this is the algorithm, right? Oh, this is popular. Let's feed them all of this now, and then it gets overexposed, and so you got to be careful, I think, with that kind of thing. So there will be more drag queen dragons. There's at least going to be one more, probably next week, but we'll see. And the nice thing about that, of course, is that there's just so much room for design options, right? There's an infinite universe of possibilities with that kind of thing.
You had someone inquire about Nernies.
I did, and an Operation Puppet community member as well and this will kind of the two notes should have been combined into one. I think I did that actually. Yes, the shop builds and build streams are back. We did a build stream on Wednesday and
Thursday, yesterday.
You
moved it to Thursday.
I did move it to Thursday. Sure, that happened.
So build streams are now Thursday.
Build streams are now Thursday. This is why I need Jamie. I decided and then forgot that I have now moved the build streams from Wednesdays to Thursdays. I don't remember why I ever started doing them on Wednesdays.
You were pretty drunk.
I think at that point your video load was relatively constant. Like you were doing Operation Puppet, like the puppeteered stuff early in the week.
The Oracle stuff.
Or through the week. And Wednesday seemed to be a good balance between days that you were doing video stuff.
I think it was just that it was like a breaking up of the things I had to do. And things are a little bit different now. So the reason that Wednesdays ended up not working out so well is because the builds that because I always plan out obviously what I'm going to do for the week. And so things are generally at a predictable stage around the same time every week. And Wednesdays are right in the middle, obviously. So I'm usually doing stuff on the sewing machine, in the middle of the week.
It's usually body stuff.
Yeah. And it's just like
hands.
How often can you watch me sit at a sewing machine? But the fun part, the part that's really interesting and you get to do a lot of creative stuff and it really comes to life is right at the end when you're doing the facial features. And that's always closer to Thursday. So if I
and there was
move
a
the
lot
build
of good
streams-
questions on the build stream about
and
the
we had
faces and
new
everything.
people.
Yep.
It was one of the best build streams ever, I think. And no small reason because I just had like way too much coffee and I was super hyper.
It was it was peppy.
It was. And it was the perfect storm because I'd actually slept well that night. That's the other part of the equation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'd slept well and had too much coffee. Boom. Suddenly I'm just off. So it was really good. We had this is the thing. When you get new people, that's always gives an injection of energy, right? And we had a couple of new people. So, and on PeerTube as well, which was great.
Yes.
So, that's
There's that one gentleman who was talking about a documentary on Antron Fleece.
Yeah, we're gonna get into some stuff. I may be doing an interview at some point soon, so things are gonna get neat and possibly controversial because one of the things that they're gonna be talking about is the infamous Henson stitch. We got into this on the build stream in no small
I was going to make
way.
a joke that the controversy was going to be the Henson stitch, but I'm like, there's no fucking way it's actually going to be the Henson stitch.
It's always the Henson
It's always
stitch.
the Henson stitch.
I thought it was something fleece related. Like, what the fuck kind of controversy is fleece related?
There's trust me.
Hell.
You don't know?
You don't even know. Oh, let me tell you about my world sometime. I got
good
fleece
times.
controversies, pal. Let me tell you. But yeah, no, there's two things. You want to talk, there's two big things that people get mad at you when you bust their myths. The first one is the Henson stitch. That's the big one. And the other one, which is related to the Henson stitch, is the magic triangle, which is about a design thing that Don Celine apparently, it's always back to Don Celine, who was an early
I think
Muppet
Don
designer.
Celine was a practical joker and liked.
He would be pissing himself knowing that this was the case because these were all just fucking jokes, and they escaped the confines of the workshop and festered into these urban legends. And he would just love that. He was just like, this would have been the best. So congratulations, Don. In death, you have created a myth that will outlive you. So well done.
It's amazing.
Anyway, so that's what's going on with the puppet stuff. So we built a couple of Greeblies this week. Got listed on the shop today. They're up and available and will be on the direct shop exclusively before they get moved to Etsy at some point. I'm not in a hurry to move things to Etsy, obviously, for obvious reasons.
I noticed that the Dragon was on Etsy.
Now, this is the interesting thing. The person who bought the Dragon did buy it on Etsy, and then we got to talking, and they're now a new client and was asking me, is it better to buy things on Etsy or the direct shop? And we got to discussing things, and they are very much a strong supporter of all of the things that I support. You know, they're pro labor rights, they're pro queer rights, they're a good old woke lefty. So
But they
of
can't
course they
stand
brought the
the
drag
diabetic.
queen dragon. Of course they are. Right?
But they can't handle diabetics.
Well, exactly. I got a black mark against me there. But they have now bought another puppet on the direct shop. So
nice.
This is the trajectory. And we were talking about this as well, because I told them it's like, well, they were saying, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that it's better if you're buying on the direct shop. And I'm like, no, it's okay, because the way I look at it, unfortunately, I need Etsy for the exposure. Quote,
The
unquote.
SEO, basically.
It's the search engine.
The visibility.
This is where
Yeah.
the eyeballs go. This is with the default place where they land. But I look at it as an on-ramp, right? It's like if you're a collector, if you're somebody who's into puppetry, the chances are you're going to own more than one puppet. So if you find me on Etsy and then that brings you into Operation Puppet, chances are you're going to follow those breadcrumbs, right? Yeah. So that's all good. That's fine. And I think that's working well. So it's all good. Yeah. And this got so positive and now we got to get negative because I skipped over a note and we really should cover it.
So, speaking of visibility on platforms,
So, y'all may know that. Okay, so there's this company called Meta. Turns out they're evil and have been
Bad
for a
times.
while. Who even knew? But now they're just even more evil, and I'm done. I am fed up. I can't take Zuckerberg's bullshit anymore, including and especially because of his current and like over this past week, it's in the news. Everybody knows about this. The whole kissing up to Trump and his slide into extreme right wing bullshit. So the Operation Puppet Facebook page is going away, including my own personal Facebook profile, are scheduled for deletion. They are no more. And that's, it wasn't an easy decision because a lot of people that are like, acquaintances and old friends are still on Facebook. No shade if you are. Obviously, the same deal as with the Twitter thing. Everybody has their own reasons for being on the platforms they are. Some people don't have a choice. Some people, it's the only way they can stay in touch with family, etc. I'm not judging anybody for whatever platform you're on. This was just, I don't have to be on Facebook. That's the thing. I'm not losing anything. There's nobody I'm in touch with on a regular basis that I'm going to be missing out on. And if they are, I have other ways of contacting them. So I don't need to be on Facebook. Operation Puppet doesn't need to be on Facebook. It got some, interaction, but not a lot. The only kind of in the mix is that the Operation Puppet Instagram is still pretty active and still gets enough interactions and responses and stuff, and I still get some clients from that. And this is what the thing I'm talking about. Like for my business, I really can't leave Instagram yet.
Yeah.
That may be changing because the level of stuff from Instagram has been dropping off as Instagram and shitifies and people realize it and they leave, and more just slop gets churned out in the Instagram feeds, and it becomes fewer and fewer actual people. That's dropping off, obviously. So there's probably going to be a point in which I can finally jettison Instagram as well, but for the moment the Instagram stays, but Facebook be gone, and it's a relief. It really is. So yeah, if you've been following Operation Puppet on Facebook, don't bother. OperationPuppet.com has got all of the links for all of the things. I am active on Blue Sky. That's got its own series of problems, but at least they're not as many or as complex as the other places. So, it's fine for now. I'll obviously still on Mastodon, on active on OperationPuppet.com. And of course, this is a good segue. Join the Discord, because that's probably the best place to get in contact with me and all of the things that I do and all that stuff. So that would probably do it for the Puppet Pit.
Update your calendars. Thursday is the live stream day, the build streams.
Thank you. Yeah. So Thursdays, 10 a.m. Eastern is the new build stream schedules. If that changes, I will post it on the socials that I am on, and including the Discord. So
especially the Discord. Yep.
Yeah. The Discord is probably the single best place. If you're on Discord, and you probably should be, even if you're not a gamer. I know people kind of think of Discord as a gamer thing, but it's moved way beyond that. It's just
the Puppet fire hose.
It really is, and it's been good. So
yeah,
it's the one thing that hasn't yet fully enshittified. TBA,
Yeah, yes.
We'll see about that. But anyway, there we go. There's the Puppet Pit for the first Puppet Pit of 2025. Congratulations.
And of season 3.
And of season 3. All right. We're going to take an actual break, and we will be back with Gizmo Town. The sky above the port was the color of a YouTube video hit with a copyright takedown.
Around the rainy streets, people huddled with neon umbrellas and impractical goggles. Here we fight the corporate arcologies and get excited about phones. Welcome to the mean streets of Gizmo Town.
So we could have planned this better.
Could we? I don't think we could have.
I don't think any of us realized that CES was this week.
I don't pay any attention to that stuff, so no, you're absolutely right. I did not. Like you're like, oh wait, CES.
As I'm starting to fill out the podcast things, I'm like, wait a second. There's a lot of Gizmo Town happening here.
I think it's been like this before. I think the first one of the year is always
because of CES.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird though, because sometimes there's just a fire hose of content of just like announcement after announcement, and this year, despite the fact that there were no nukes, there were a whole lot of shots fired.
Yes.
So we definitely have a lot to talk about.
Welcome to the first Gizmo Town of 2025, which is where we talk about tech and all things related to tech. Starting, as always, with the thick and girthy, I got to get the joke in before Jimmy does, Deck Nook, where we talk about handheld gaming rigs, mostly PC-based. We'll start with a quick one before we get to all the CES stuff, because one of the things we did over the holidays to kind of unwind was build furniture, as one does when one wants to unwind. For me and my wife, it actually is a relaxing thing because we're good at it and we have fun with it. So as we were replacing the shelves in the office here, I found uncovering archaeological artifacts. My two original PlayStation portables, PSPs, the very first.
Were they 1000s or were they
One is a 1000 and one is a 2000. Okay. So I do have the straight up OG PSP. The black one I've got is the OG, and then the white one is the slim
white Darth Vader edition.
Darth Vader stenciled one. Yeah, of course. That one came with Star Wars Battlefront 2. The first Star Wars Battlefront 2, I might add. So yeah, I found these PSPs. I'm like, okay. I wonder if these still work. Now, the batteries in both were dead.
Mm-hmm. But not leaking.
They were not leaking, thankfully. The one battery, so the thin one, the 2000, didn't have a battery at all. I have no idea what happened to that battery. Okay. I didn't have the charger at all. No idea where that went. The PSP 1000, so the original one, which is damn near 20 years old at this point, did have the original battery in it. It had bloated a little. But
I was going to ask if it had ballooned at all.
It had ballooned a little bit. It was hard to tell at first because the profile of the PSP battery is actually curved to match the back of the case. So I was like, is that ballooning or is that just the shape of the battery? I don't know. But so I did get replacement batteries and a charger. And
there's a good secondary market for PSP stuff.
I had no idea. This is why we're even talking about it, because it's a thriving community, it turns out. And not only that, but it is unbelievably easy to jailbreak these things now. People have just cracked those things like an egg.
Custom firmware is
pretty easy back in the day.
It wasn't too bad.
Do it fairly simply.
I remember when
I have at least one.
The PSP one was first cracked, and it was a battery hack. It was there was a battery thing that got opened up a 0-day exploit on a GIF or so. It was wild. It was this really weird, strange hack. You had to have a specific model of battery.
It's always the integrated web browsers because they support some half version of CSS and half version of JavaScript.
Yeah,
that you can then inject stuff in because it was never updated. So
but now it's straight up here. Drag this file in, drop it in. Okay, now run this. Now you're good. That's it. That's all it is now. So I got 2 jailbreaking PSPs now.
That's fantastic.
And so the next step that I haven't done yet is actually getting the ROMs onto them. I have from some sources, downloaded basically the entire PSP library.
Yep,
and
that'll
there's some
happen.
Good games in there. Like this.
There's some all-timers.
Yeah.
There really are. And that's great. So I've got
The little stories that Rockstar put out for the various Grand Theft Autos were supposed to be very good on the PSP.
the thing for me was there was it was one of there's a Dungeon Siege game and there was another Untold Legends. That was what it was called.
Yeah.
Because being me, I wanted like a dungeon crawler, and that was the thing. And I think this is totally appropriate for the Deck Nook, because this was the first time I'm like, handheld gaming, huh? Because I didn't grow up with Nintendo DS or Game Boys or anything like that. I did have a Sega Game Gear briefly, but this was the moment that I kind of went, handheld, like a real full ass game in a handheld console.
It was way ahead of the curve.
Yeah, it really was. And it's kind of funny how relevant it still kind of feels. Like it still feels pretty good. The form factor, they thought about this. It's clear that a lot of engineering went into this, including the UMD drive. Dear God, Sony, what were you thinking?
Yeah, it's what better way to use a portable battery than spinning a disc?
I mean, it was, there wasn't a great solution, and the UMD was tied into their mini disc, wasn't it? Technically,
it's kind of.
I think it's sub mini disc size.
Oh, it is.
Its own
it's
thing.
still. I think it's still kind of from the same family.
I think,
but that was Sony maintaining their exclusivity
and memory
in
stick.
that way.
Yeah,
and
everyone fondly remembers
Duo.
Memory Stick. Yeah.
Memory Stick Duo,
that was,
not Memory Stick. Memory Stick Duo.
That was definitely affected the. I guess at the time people just shrugged their shoulders because we were dealing with proprietary shit everywhere.
Yeah.
So nobody was doing anything universal at that time.
I remember I found a Lexar Memory Stick Duo and was super excited because it wasn't $80 for a 4 meg memory stick.
So that'll be interesting to kind of like start exploring that stuff because as we go into more of our retro exploration, this is like a living fossil that we've got here. It's
pretty much
20 years old is enough old that I think it's now counts as a retro platform that UMD kept alive.
I'm just looking it up here. A UMD could actually hold 900 megs on a single layer and 1.8 gigs on dual layer. So that's nothing to sneeze at. It's not a DVD, but
it wasn't a bad format. This is the thing. I the first time I watched Spider-Man, the one with the Doc Ock.
Yeah, Spider-Man 2.
That it was on a UMD. I got it with something that I bought.
It was shipped with the unit. Yeah.
I had Ghost in the Shell, standalone complex, like 3 episodes in a UMD, and it buffered like nobody's business.
Oh, really?
It was brutal to watch.
I can't.
Considering the display on a PSP was only 480 by 272.
Yeah.
So they could compress the shit out of it, obviously.
Yeah.
But they gave it a half-ass shot. But it was still a portable video.
Absolutely.
Format that was not viable at the time.
It was a full ass video game console in your hand, and that was kind of the first time I had experienced that. So it's neat to have that.
I mean,
so anyway,
it whooped the shit out of the Game Boy.
Yes, absolutely. So that's a cool thing we will follow up on as I dig more into it. I just haven't had enough time to really get it fired up fully, but I've got 2 for some reason. I don't want to do it too, but
I think I've got 2 as well. I got the Sparta edition, the red one.
We get the God of War thing, right? I assume.
Yeah, it was full. I was fully intending to go all in on that, and guess what? I didn't. What a shock! Yeah, I know. What are the odds?
Well, let's list a whole bunch of other things Andrew would almost certainly think about getting.
Oh, several of them will come up as we discuss as we move on here.
Because a lot of stuff got talked about this week at the Consumer Electronics Show. Ooh, where do we even start? Okay. AMD announces the Z, because we're in Canada, to 18 in 3 flavors, and Valve, as a customer, says Steam Deck 2 intensifies, except it definitely doesn't.
So that happened the Sunday before CES. The AMD slide deck leaked. I can only imagine somebody left it at a bar and somebody immediately ran to the internet with it. And it has the Z2 Go, which is the CPU that Lenovo has expressly commissioned for the Legion Go 2, which is the only member in that APU family. And there's the Z2, and then there's the Z2 Extreme. And one of the slides used a Steam Deck to show the grid of performance. And everyone's like, "Oh, Steam Deck 2. Steam Deck 2 is going to be on a Z2 APU.
Yeah.
It's happening." .gif. And then poor Pierre-Loup Geoffrey had to go on socials and say, "There is and will not be a Z2 Steam Deck." So Valve having to fight literal fires while this deck was making its rounds. It sounds interesting. Like, it's going to be a bump. It's going to be more powerful on the extreme end, and the Z2 is going to be fine. But the battery life isn't where the Steam Deck's is.
That's
like their custom APU is
Valve
still
is concentrating
got
on
that
the
sauce.
battery life. That's their whole thing.
And it's important. Like, if you're going to use a portable PC, you want it to last longer than 35 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
The Z2 Go, or the Z, is it the Go? The
Go for the Legion. Yeah,
it's less juiced than a Z1, but it's got more graphic cores, I guess. So,
right.
There hasn't been any real benchmarking yet, but it certainly doesn't seem like the Go is definitely not the upgrade path that you would expect for a Steam Deck 2.
The Z2 is a very, like, the Z1 was all performance cores, and this one is some efficiency cores and some performance cores. So, but also the GPU sauce is different. So it'll remain to be seen. Like, somebody has to put it in a device and then hand people the device to use. They had the shell for the Legion 2 Go there, but it was the guts for the Legion 1 Go in it, just so people could feel what the industrial. People say it feels a lot better than the first one.
This is the best. We're at the next gen stage, which is where shit's really going to get interesting. But the thing I was thinking about is that with the new chip out there and the new platforms, the big advantage that we talked about when we first talked about the Steam Deck is the fact that, as I've said many times, it's a target, and it's been a steady target for developers to focus on.
Yeah,
and obviously it still is. But now, and the fact that AMD has 3 flavors of the Z2 makes it a lot more difficult to call it a target when you've got 3 different levels. But I mean, we know that as long as they can run it on a Z1, it's going to be fine. It's going to run it's just a question of now you can turn more shit on. I mean, there's most of the devs are still focusing on, let's just make sure it'll run on a Steam Deck at crap resolution and crap, texture quality. And now you can start edging up all of those settings as you go for the beefier and beefier units. And that's where we are now. That's where all the announcements were basically this week.
Yeah, like a Steam Deck 1, the OG Steam Deck is still not a bad floor, right?
Right.
That's a good kind of place to go. Okay, we have to at least get playable on this.
And it's a target that gets you 4 to 5 million devices.
Well, that's the other side, right? That's why it's a good floor.
It's shipped a bunch of units, so it makes sense to make that as the entry target for the thing.
Yeah. So but devs love to move that target up as quickly as they can. So I don't anticipate anything coming out this year that will have people suggesting that we're not aiming for Steam Deck anymore. I feel like they're for PC versions of all of these, they still want to have a version that will run and be playable on a Steam Deck.
Yep.
So, but now that you've got, as we'll go over, many of these have a bigger screen, higher resolution.
Yeah, things are getting a little more kind of all right. The whole field is trying to move. You know what I mean?
It's an evolution.
Everyone's trying to find the thing that will make them the next Steam Deck. Like, is it bigger? Is it, weirder controls? Is it nostalgia? What is it? What will get us there?
Well, and even just looking at Legion, I mean, with what Legion is offering, the fact that they've got multiple targets right off the bat, with what Lenovo is doing with they're already splitting the platform. I mean, the Go was supposed to be the high end option, and people were generally a little dismissive of it. So they said, we also have a normal size one. And
so speaking of things that aren't normal sized, and Acer's answer to all this is, what if a gaming handheld was just a big giant fucking thing?
Have you looked at the picture of the guy holding this thing?
I have. It's
ridiculous. It's like an iPad Pro.
It's like if an iPad Pro and was made by Fisher Price, right? Like, what if?
It's like if somebody used the punch tool on a PlayStation, whatever the interface is. It's 11 inches, a 10.95 inch screen.
It's like putting controllers on an iPad Pro.
Yes.
Yeah.
And apparently they're removable, which
that really surprised me.
Worry me, because if they detach at any point, you've got a 10.5 inch or 10.9 inch screen plummeting to the ground while you hold on to these things.
Those controllers are ludicrous. I mean, the screen, I totally get. And I've seen some similar mock-ups where you just have a large-ass tablet, very powerful tablet, and you just use that as the device. And the idea of having that, kind of like a laptop, you would just, if you're on a plane, you just set up the table, you put this thing on a kickstand, and you whip out your little controller, and you go to town. That would be perfect. These controllers that snap off this 11-inch version, the Nitro Blaze 11, they're like a loaf of bread.
They look like 1980s Zenith remote control.
They do, yeah. And they don't join together, I don't think. So you're still using them separately, but your hand is only going to cover the top half of the controller. I mean, I'm looking at them,
and there's still 6 inches of blank space at the bottom.
It looks like you're holding a pair of knives, and you're gonna like Tommy Lee Jones in Under Siege, and you're just gonna have a knife fight with the guy next to you. I mean, you could hurt somebody with these things. It's just comical, but I'm glad they're offering an alternative, but. 1,100 freedom dollars.
Yeah.
Man alive.
You and I'm almost get a GPU for that much.
Almost.
I'm pretty sure they're also offering different levels for that. Like I think that's the starting point.
Yeah.
Like the fact that they're going to offer.
Well, listen. For the poors, there's also the Nitro Blaze 8, which is only 8 inches.
Yeah.
Who would want that?
And that's
for $900.
I mean,
freedom dollars.
Yes.
Part of me empathizes because, as I've talked about before, as I age and my eyesight gets worse, the Steam Deck is getting a little too
100%. 11 inches though, Kevin.
Yeah,
I didn't
want a Wacom tablet in your lap?
It's not like I've never done that before.
I wish I had used the Go longer when I had it. I should have really put it through its paces before I returned it. And at the time, it was I just couldn't justify the expense. It was just too much, and I just didn't have a use case for it. But I really like the idea of that big screen.
Yeah.
And many of these handhelds that are coming out this year do offer the 8.8. I mean, the Legion Go 2 is the same size as the Legion Go 1. This one is 2560 by 1600 with 120 hertz refresh, 500 nits brightness, and it is a touchscreen. I mean, so it's a giant, beautiful tablet. But yeah, the idea of slapping those clunkers on the side. I mean, Jesus, I can't imagine they mocked this up and handed it to Jerry and said, "Here, play this for a bit." I'm like, "Sure thing, this is great." Ow. I can't. I gotta put this down. It's just. It's not crazy heavy, but my God, it's the idea of holding that thing and playing a session of anything is bananas.
It feels very much like an Acer product. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very
I lied.
Acer.
I found a render, and it does show that the two controllers do slap onto a middle piece, which is the same length as the unit. So it just turns it into the biggest controller in history.
It's like two Dukes put together.
It is.
It's like a prop
ludicrous
from a movie where you've been shrunk by 25%.
I'll throw this Andre the Giant scale.
This is the link to Lenovo or to Acer's site. And if you scroll down a bit, you'll see the ultimate portable all rounder, and it's got a picture of the.
Oh my god!
It's the size of an LP. It
looks like the Jaguar controller.
Yeah, I mean, so it's basically the height of the unit. So if it's an 11-inch screen, it's got to be 7 inches tall.
It's got to be a 30-pound battery pack, like one of those portable phone batteries that weighs 600 pounds.
Light. Dear God! Lord.
Just that controller alone is going to be crippling. But
this is live reaction to a monstrosity. This should not be. I'm putting my this should not be stamp on it.
How'd you like to hold a couple of dildos and stand in front of a TV? Because that's basically what you're doing. That
sounds like more fun.
I'll tell you what they've done. What they have done is they have made the Legion Go 2 reasonable.
Okay.
Honest to God, you look at this and you go, no fucking way.
They're talking, you give us some kickback.
You come back to the 8-inch one and you're like, you know what? This is fine, actually. And then, so, I mean,
it's
honestly, though, the
pricing, it's Goldilocks sizing.
The 8-inch version is actually going to, I think it might actually be more popular than we thought. The 11-inch version is just to show off how normal. But the original Blaze was only 7-inch, only 7 inches.
What if I was to tell you there are 2 of them?
Right.
Tencent is also making
show notes I have to click on.
Tencent is also making an 11-inch display, but this one is a world's first glasses-free 3D gaming handheld because they forgot
definitely work. Yeah.
Because they forgot that the 3DS exists.
You have to hold it like absolutely still in one specific position.
It has real-time eye tracking.
I'll bet it does.
The tech is there. And I'm sure that it's an impressive application. Like when I've seen, there was LTT had a video of the same technology in play, and obviously it's impossible to show you in a video how it works. But they all agreed it was a neat effect. I don't think anybody said that it was necessary or game changing at all. It's like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, things that are neat effects always work well. That's always the next best thing.
It's going to be an Intel-based one, Lunar Lake Core Ultra 7, 11 inches, and it has the same like RCA remote control from the 80s design that the other one has.
Just call them
so everything is right up at the top, and there's all this controller that just hangs below your hand because all the controls are right at the top.
I don't hate the idea of having a large tablet to game off of, but the idea of slapping a couple controllers on there is just dumb. And that's where it all falls apart.
Yeah.
But honestly, I mean, in a perfect world, if I could, even just my iPad, if I could have had a decent little setup to prop that thing up and have a nice little Bluetooth controller and 8-bit DO.
Carrying around a controller, an iPad, and a kickstand. What is the difference?
and this Sunday, this unit that we're just talking about here, the Chinese unit, is definitely the same as the Acer Nitro Blaze 11. Even the controller size is exactly the same. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was the same basic hardware. I mean, these guys are all stealing each other's homework. For sure. It's just the fact that it's Intel
the
Core
controllers
Ultra
do
7
look
instead.
to be permanently attached, at least. So
That's fair. I mean, I guess with the 3, there is a bit of a seam on there. They might be detachable.
Better though? Is it?
At this point, they're showing
about the screen falling out.
You always have to hold up.
At this point, they're basically saying, "Do you want the controllers to come off? Because we could probably do that because we haven't made this fucking thing yet."
Dear Acer, 8-bit DO makes a bunch of cheap Bluetooth controllers that work with everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, right there.
As Kevin reaches behind the screen and pulls one out.
Yeah.
So
the 3D thing is obviously it's a nice to have, but it's certainly not. I have a feeling it also compromises the image quality immensely. So I don't think it's it has its applications, but I really don't think gaming is going to turn out to be one of them.
5 people are going to be very happy.
Yeah.
So in non-11-inch handheld news.
Oh, good. There is some.
The Zombie Corpse of Atari announces a 16 by 9 inch or 16 by 9 ratio retro handheld. Have you always wanted to play I don't know, Centipede with huge black bars on the other side of the screen? How about Pac-Man with huge black bars on the sides of the screen?
It's such a weird device. So it's my arcade. It's not Atari. Whoever, whatever.
Atari doesn't exist.
No.
Right.
Somebody
Whatever
owns the
Atari
name
hasn't
and the
existed for a
logo.
long time.
Yeah,
And maybe some of the
holding,
library.
some holding company or VC firm owns Atari.
I guarantee
Probably a
you,
VC firm.
You
Yes.
dig down 2 levels and Tommy Tellerico is in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh no, he
doubt.
would have. You'd never hear the end of it if he had a piece of it. But it's a weird looking unit, and the only videos online are mostly people that are just ball washing, and they're just, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. Oh my god, look at this Atari. I love Atari. This is the best.
It's got a spinner for playing Breakout. It's got a trackball for playing Question Mark. I don't remember using a trackball.
Millipede. This is the weird thing. I was reading about it, and the only game that uses the ball is Millipede, and I don't understand why Centipede isn't one of them. But I think they made one of the new versions because I think it also includes all the remakes that they've been making with the Atari branding. So that's most of the 16:9 stuff, and I think Millipede was the only one that they said actually uses the trackball. So there you go. You got one of the control options only has a single use,
And then on the other side, there is a numeric keypad.
yeah. For the handful of titles that actually use
like Star Raiders that use
but
the
they actually
membrane controller.
What is a little interesting is that they do mention Atari 5200 compatibility because evidently that used the keypad a lot more. So there's a bunch of Atari 5200 games, which of course were all big hits that we all love and have great memories of playing on our Atari 5200.
He is not being facetious. He's being facetious.
A little bit. I vaguely remember when the Atari 5200 came out. And oh, interesting.
And I'm an Atari boy. Okay.
Yeah.
And
I remember its existence and going, oh, I can't wait to see that in action and maybe getting it. Oh, it's not, it doesn't really exist. Nobody wants to sell it to me. Okay. Well, I've got my ColecoVision, so I'm happy.
I expect this to sell dozens.
Yeah, this is going to be about as successful as every other Atari thing has been. Remember when they did a hotel? Remember the Atari hotel?
Yes.
I don't.
There was an Atari hotel. Whatever company currently owns the IP.
Oh, a recent one.
They blue sky. It's copyright 2024. Like it was last year.
I remember they were going to have.
They were blue sky
gambling. They were going to have gambling games that were using the Atari classic.
It looked like rejected games. Tron concept art.
So really my arcade already has something called the Atari Game Station Pro, which is a console with 2 Atari style joysticks that are wireless, and it says 200 plus games built in. Console connects via HDMI, 2.4 gigahertz wireless joysticks and built-in paddles. And I think the paddles actually twisted, so it's got a knob on them as well, so you can play Breakout and whatnot. But it just, I don't know if anybody bought this thing or if it's readily available. But the other unit that they have it's going to be like a little mini arcade, which is great because that was obviously we loved playing our Atari games on an arcade unit. So and it's just amazing.
All right, let me give you the inside scoop. All right, as an Atari boy,
yeah.
Let me tell you, if you really want your Atari shit, right? If you're into retro gaming and you're just sort of exploring this whole world of what came before, there's a collection on every existing platform you can imagine, PlayStation, Xbox, Steam, you name it, called the Atari 50th Anniversary. It is brilliant. It is a living museum. It's got some of the last interviews with all of the original developers. That's the thing to get. If you're into Atari, you get that shit. You don't get whatever garbage this is.
And there's more though with these guys because they've got the Atari 50, which is they have the branding for the Atari 50th anniversary, and then they've got a basic little handheld that's just got a D-pad and 2 buttons that has all the Atari games on it, or not all of them, obviously. Yeah. And then they've got 3 different form factors: a micro player, a nano player, which is a smaller version of the micro, and then the pocket one, and like 2.75-inch screens. No mention of any of the hardware that's on it because it's obviously minimal. So,
micro, nano, and pocket.
Yeah.
How big do you think my pocket is?
Micro and Nano are both arcade cabinet shaped.
All
so they've
right.
got a joystick and 2 buttons, or you can just have the Pocket Player, which is just a cheap little emulation
You
machine.
can't
with
call it the
licensed
Pocket
I'll
Atari
show
games.
you a Pocket Player. Jesus Christ.
So officially
Everybody
licensed Atari
hire a
titles.
16-year-old, and if they start giggling when you say your product name, think of a different product name.
Yeah. All right.
But then the same company's also doing something called the Game Station Retro, where they've licensed a bunch of Capcom and Bandai Namco titles. So it's a very ugly console. Seriously, it looks like how big is the screen on this? It's an 8-inch display, but it's square, so it doesn't. The form factor makes it look like that Nitro 11. They're saying it's a $200 MSRP, and it's got what has it got? Capcom. So it's got Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighter 2. Mega Man 1942 Final Fight, and Pac-Man Pole Position. So again, it's basically just I bet money that it turns out the thing's actually running one of the public emulation ones.
No doubt.
I'll throw this in the
It's an
Nobody
emulation
work.
station skin that they put on it. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, no,
well, it's because we need a palate cleanser, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Steam OS, the fabled thing, the thing that's on the Steam Deck that everybody wants to come to other devices, is officially, finally, actually coming to other devices. Let me just click
Make
on
your own
the-
damn Steam Deck too.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Checking the actual article.
So the Lenovo Legion Go
Yes.
S is going to be shipping with SteamOS.
Yeah, that's the first official one to actually have it as
And
part
then
of it. But what's
The
interesting?
Legion Go 2, you'll be able to install it separately. I think it'll ship with Windows, but you'll be able to
Yeah.
put an install of SteamOS over it.
That's the interesting question: is can you have it switch between the two?
Dual boot.
So yeah,
It's not that
like,
hard
if
to
you-
do.
if you-
I mean,
because
Technically, it can do it. So.
well, the Legion Go Steam or whatever the S,
yes,
I don't know.
yeah,
That one only ships with Steam OS.
just comes with SteamOS. Yes,
but then, but before that version comes out, the same hardware is going to ship with Windows.
Yeah.
which is weird. And then that one you might be able to put Steam on, but I don't know if you can put Windows on the Steam version. So anyway,
I mean,
why would
probably.
you?
I mean,
Yeah, you'd have to do it on your own, but I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll support it. And I'm assuming they both still have the Steam button on it. Not that that's necessary.
but a public beta is coming in the next little while for people to test it on other devices, on
Mhm.
computers, perhaps.
yes.
On my
Don't-
fridge.
Don't expect it to support all the hardware under the sun yet because it's a small team working on it.
Yeah, so I mean,
Probably
we're
very
still-
AMD focused for graphics cards
exactly.
at the moment.
If you're in the AMD camp, you're probably in much better shape than those of us.
How
in the
much-
NVIDIA camp? But
How much community support are they expecting to allow? Like, obviously, the community has made a lot of their own work in this world.
so SteamOS is its own thing, right? Like
Yeah.
it's a separate kind of. I
It's
don't
a
know how
Arch
much.
fork.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you can. I mean, you can. It's open source, right? So you can get involved
Yeah.
and contribute to it, but ultimately they have the say over it.
I
But-
mean, the Steam Deck isn't ARM or anything. So, I mean, whatever worked on the Steam Deck will work theoretically on any other install.
you
just
you
whether-
can actually get like SteamOS working on other
Yeah.
devices. There's a lot of hoops to jump through, and it's
Yeah.
probably not going to be a great experience because it's optimized for this one specific set of hardware.
Well, there's no
etc.
real installer for anything other than the Steam Deck. So it's
Yeah.
kind of, you're working to get to that same
Yeah,
point.
It's
This will be
it's going to be very
installer.
interesting to see where they what they decide is an acceptable device to put it on, or how official are they going to be with?
I think
Yes, you can install it on this.
late this year, they might announce something akin to the Steam machines.
I'm
like-
hoping so. I'm hoping that we will finally get to that point. 'cause,
NUC adjacent
yeah.
things that will run SteamOS and you'll be able to get X kind of performance out of. Like it'll play games up to, 2020, like the AAA games of the 2020, and then anything beyond that might not run as performant, but That'd be really neat.
I mean, the interesting thing is, I think it was ever since The Verge did that article about running, like there's somebody on The Verge who wrote an article about how their current favorite handheld is the ROG Ally X running Bazite, which is a community created Fedora actually distro that is kind of trying to mimic SteamOS and doing a lot of the same things that SteamOS is, and using GameScope and all that stuff. That's currently their favorite handheld. And if they were to recommend anything to anybody, it would be get yourself an ROG Ally X and put Bazite on it. That's their.
We hope that Valve will allow Bazite to continue as they do.
There's nothing nefarious about Bazite.
No,
they're taking an OS, and then Valve opened GameScope. There's a GitHub page for GameScope.
Mm-hmm.
Proton is in the community. Like anyone can use Proton on Linux. It doesn't matter what you're running.
This once again. I hate to keep beating this drum, but this is the power of open source, right? This is why it's such a healthy and good and positive and you
can get to the same place multiple ways.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure a lot of people will be happy to see an official.
Oh no! Believe me, as a Linux gamer, believe me, we are all chomping at the bit, waiting for an official SteamOS release that will support more hardware. That is the thing.
Because we all lived together.
Yeah, thank you. Good reference. But anyway, let's move on from the Deck Nook to other handhelds.
Yes.
Because here we go. Guess what? There's going to be a Switch 2 probably, maybe even, almost definitely for sure.
The worst kept secret in the internet right now.
Well, the only official statement is that they're going to make a statement by the end of March.
We're gonna release
That's the only thing Nintendo has said.
Possibility of making a statement about an announcement that we may make a statement on this date.
I think they're going to call it the Switch also. Because Switch 2 TOO is too easy. They should call it Switch also. Yeah.
So a leaker with a good track record has said that a week of the January 17th,
as of this recording,
Nintendo will make an announcement about the Switch 2, and that the March will be in, or the launch will be in March 3rd. So
that's surprising.
That's the leaker's take, and some people on Reddit found the motherboard possibly on the FCC site, and have deduced that it is using a 5-year-old NVIDIA chipset.
What is that? I didn't read about this.
It was an Ampere 2020 era chipset, because they found that it was an 8 nanometer process. So, and the RAM syncs up.
What would that be akin to?
Something that came out in 2020. I don't know. I haven't paid attention to NVIDIA's system on a chip since the Switch, which was 2010.
A 5-year-old setup seems pretty rough for new hardware, but it is Nintendo, so.
I
mean,
I
Nintendo,
can't imagine that they're even targeting 4K at this point.
No, they're like 1080p, like portable is probably there. Yeah, no, we're doing good right now.
You know what? Nintendo is doing Nintendo. They don't follow. They make their own rules and they follow them, and the people follow where they lead. So
if you want to play the new Mario,
respect that, because they've got the thing they do, and that's what they do. So
well, the one part of the unit that got leaked hard was the controllers, supposedly, but then it turned out that Genki, who was showing off their skins for them, I guess, or there's some kind of a hardware option that they're making available, and everybody went, "Oh my God, they've done it! They've shown that they're showing the real hardware here." And Genki kind of played cute about it. And then they admitted just yesterday or just today that actually we were just using the leaked renders. So
hey, maybe don't do that.
So it's pretty amazing that they've been riding the wave since the beginning of CES, and at the end of it, they went, "Well, actually, we really just use the same information everybody else has." But one suggestion is that the controllers can be used as a mouse, because they've got a laser on it, so you can flip it over. Not like the Legion where you got to stand it up, but you just kind of lay it flat on the desk, and it works as a mouse, which freaks out a lot of people because if that functionality works on an FPS, that's going to really affect crossplay.
Mario Paint 2, baby.
But if you're running any kind of an FPS and you give what is effectively mouse and keyboard on a console version, that's a huge advantage.
It's not. You know what?
It's going to tear Roblox apart.
These days, it's way less than it used to be. That issue has kind of gone away. Like, it's because of the fact that there's just like, well, do you want aim assist if you're using a controller? Yes, no.
How much do people bitch about Grenadier Jake using a controller because he gets all these sweet controller snap to heads and stuff? Like, it's gone the other way, if anything, because of the aim assist they throw on console.
So I don't know. That doesn't feel very Nintendo, though. You know what I mean? Like to put a mouse,
it's a weird application. There's got to be some, like you said Mario Paint 2, but I think you might be onto something.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously it's got a touch screen, which you would think would be the big part of it.
Mario Artist on the Nintendo 64, which I believe was a disk drive expansion exclusive, so it only ever existed in Japan, but Mario Paint shifted units. I remember playing Mario Paint a lot when I was a kid, making music and animations and stuff.
Yeah.
The Super Nintendo one.
Yeah, that's the one.
Mouse.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that remains to be seen, and we will definitely, absolutely see on January 17th.
By our next podcast, we can discuss it.
Yeah. There we go. All right. Moving on. Guess what? You know this thing you're currently listening to that's called Pixels and Puppets? Well, it's got its own YouTube channel and PeerTube channel now. Because as I've been talking about forever, we're kind of I am kind of spinning this off into its own thing. Think of it like it's not quite the Fraser to Cheers, but because I know that, you know, the people who follow my stuff for just the puppets probably don't want to weed through a lot of gaming and tech stuff, and yet I do a lot of gaming and tech stuff, and I want to like just have a place to put that. So I made an official Pixels and Puppets YouTube channel, and of course PeerTube channel, because, you know, I run the server, so why not? And that's a thing now. It exists.
So for like video game streams, we'll go there.
So yeah, I'm going to be doing some game streaming on there. If there are any more Frankie Play streams, that's where they'll be. I don't know, but the Frankie Play thing is kind of in a limbo state at the moment. I do enjoy doing them. It is very natural for me.
Yeah.
I swear to God, as I'm playing any game, I pretty much always got a running commentary of Frankie just in my brain. So why not put that out there, kind of thing?
Yeah.
You know, it's just fun, but I don't know. We'll see.
Splitting it up is interesting. There's a YouTube channel called Life of Boris. It's a guy he used to be based out of the Ukraine, and now he's just kind of loose around Eastern Europe at this point. But he does Gopnik stuff, but he does cooking, and he also does, you know, video game streams and just chaos. And but he was doing a lot of cooking. And he was basically being told by YouTube to not do that anymore,
right?
Or certain people they didn't really want to follow the cooking stuff; they just wanted the goofy shit. So he's actually spun that off onto its own channel. So he's going to have all of the cooking stuff on its own channel, and it'll be totally unconnected. So, and this is something that's happening. And Glenn and Friends, I think I've mentioned them before. It's a Toronto-based cooking channel, and he used to do cocktails right. After dark, and I think because of the fact that it was liquor, that it was already age restricted.
Sure.
So he was because of the fact that limited the number of views. It was pulling down the channel, the way it would show up in the algorithm. So he had to spin off that to its own channel. This is definitely something that's going on. Yeah, they're definitely pushing you.
Almost all the big YouTubers I follow are big. I mean, I have very niche interests, but like almost all of the YouTubers I follow have a second channel where they do other stuff or stuff that the algorithm isn't necessarily going to like on their main channel. That's what this is. That's what Pixels and Puppets, the YouTube channel is. And the interesting thing is, the first thing I put up on there, of course, was the TI-99 4A breakdown and install of the video chip that I did a while back. And it's getting some views. Like, I'm surprised. It's straight up. The algorithm is generally, I mean, it's only like, I don't know, 50 or so, but that's still way more. Like, I have not been promoting this at all. I haven't talked about it at all. And I've got not only views, but I've got like comments and people like talking about how they were following along with it and asking me questions about it. And it's like,
that's great.
This is the thing. It's so niche, right? There's this and maybe one other video on all of YouTube about this, right?
It's also a risk though, because if you start sub-channeling too much, then it just gets out of hand.
Oh,
you'd have to separate your retro content and new content.
We're kind of
it could
covered everything
could get out of hand.
That I do now. Like all of me now has a place to exist on YouTube in some way. So anyway, that's what that is. And so any future game streaming or tech streams, I want to do more. There's a lot more to cover. There's a lot more I'm getting into, and that we're all getting into. So if there's going to be any more game streams or tech streams, that's where they're going to live. The links are in the show notes, and it's neat and it's fun and I like it and it's good. So anyway, that is a thing that exists. It's good things exist.
It is good.
For example, kevinblades.com, my long neglected tech and gaming blog that I brought back from the dead this past week. So there is a new blog article up. Basically,
titled Not Dead.
Not Dead, yeah. Basically about kind of where we are, what I kind of want to do with the blog. And it's just one of those things. And I think that now...
Just gonna copy and paste Ed Zitron posts, be honest.
Well, but that's kind of the point, is that it's not that. It's kind of started out that way for very good reasons. But it's kind of not that. And I want to move it in a more positive direction.
I just had a horrible vision of somebody taking Ed Zitron's post, putting it into AI, having AI read it, and then there's an insert of you in the video, your head, and it's just you pointing your finger up, like a shitty TikTok through the entire thing, just constantly popping your eyebrows and pointing up.
It would be so
the entire video
to do that, dear God. But anyway, so that's the thing. The link is in the show notes. kevinblades.com exists and lives, and there will be more stuff. And it won't just be me yelling angry things about millionaires. I promise. There'll be more stuff. But there will also be that, because I feel ways about stuff, and it's my fucking website. So that's where I'm going to put that
That's
stuff.
right.
And now more than ever, it is really important, even if it's small, even if you've got like very few people who actually read it, it doesn't matter. Put the things out there. We need
kevinblades.com now more than ever.
Thank you. I'm gonna keep that record and put it up on the when you load in. It's gonna be like a MIDI file. Remember back in the days when the MIDI files?
Yes, autoplay MIDI files.
You didn't ask them to play, and they played anyway. That's what's gonna play when you go to kevinblades.com. So anyway, speaking of Ed Zitron,
yeah.
CES is the thing that happens. Other than handhelds, did we notice anything else other than that was not terrible?
Robot vacuums? So many robot vacuums.
They have arms now. There's
one with an arm. There's one with legs.
Yeah.
There's one that the vacuum part comes out of the middle and goes onto a handheld attachment for when the robot sucks too bad and you want to do the spot it keeps missing. Like robot vacuums.
Okay.
So the one with legs has two little props that will kick the front of it up enough that it'll go up a 2-inch lip. So if you've got like a bad threshold from tile to hardwood or carpet, and the robot vacuum would normally bump into it and stop, this can actually deploy these two little props to kick the front up and then push it up over the thing.
That alone is probably going to push it over the edge for a lot of people. They're going to buy that motherfucker just because then now they can get rid of that second Roomba because the kitchen and the living room have that one stupid barrier between hardwood and carpet.
Yeah. There's also the one with the arm will pick up socks and stuff that it runs into.
A sock.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it'll deposit it somewhere. I assume
it said it can lift anything up to 300 grams.
Yeah,
like, that's an interesting amount.
It's not Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It's not going to pick up your kid or your cat.
But if it wasn't a TV, it was a vacuum. As I was going through the Verge's fire hose.
Yeah, the only TV of note. And it was
the one with the suction cups, right?
No,
one with the suction cups.
I swear to God, I wasn't going to say that. That one's just dumb. But
it's the LG one with the shoulder strap.
They basically have a new tech it's QLED, but instead of blue, it's RGB. So it enhances all colors instead of just blue on the setup. And evidently, it's a huge improvement for the mini LED displays. So I don't see that making things cheaper, but it makes mini LEDs better.
It's red, green, and red, green, blue.
I guess it's not just blue. It's like the QLED is just blue, but it works. Like just having that enhancement.
Oh, you're talking about the backlight.
Colors. Yeah. Backlight.
I thought you were saying in the micro or the QLED instead of blue in the RGB, they did RGB, and I'm like, wait, it's red, green, blue.
I explained that very badly.
So the backlight is RGB.
The backlight instead of just being blue now is red, green, blue.
Kicking in.
That's we were at the edge of the desert.
Anyway, that's the only. That was the only real
TV.
It's not even a paradigm shift that's like that's a good idea.
Come on, the battery powered one with the suction cups you could throw on anything was great.
I don't.
I want to walk into a bank with it,
wireless.
put it on the front window, and have it playing something obscene.
Nah, that could be cool actually. Yeah, it's definitely got its applications. But I don't trust anything with suction to actually stick, especially something like a $2,000 television. I don't expect that to stick to the wall.
Hey, they had a CES deal. It was only $1,500.
Yeah. I mean,
but overall, it was. I listened to a couple of Ed's podcasts.
That was the thing I wanted to point out. Boy, I've only listened to one. I've got more because I've been hoarding them like gold. Because like the Ed Zitron's coverage of CES this year is basically him in his hotel room with a bunch of really cool people, all getting fucking pissed and laughing about all of the bullshit that they saw on the floor.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
It's brilliant. This is literally, and I've been thinking about this more because, like, obviously I love Ed Zitron and what he does, but the comparison I keep making is like, I think what Ed is to our current kind of state where we are in tech is what Hunter Thompson was to politics in the 70s. The writing that Ed's doing now is having the same consequences and the same purpose that Hunter's did in the 70s. You know, people get lost in Hunter's kind of crazy drug man kind of persona, but his political writing was really important and was pointing out kind of political truths and important kind of ways that things were happening way before anybody else. And Ed is kind of like that now. He's pissed and he's not afraid to show it and he's not afraid to talk about it. And he's like the one guy who hasn't drank the Kool-Aid, right?
Yeah.
And
they have some very frank discussions about AI and in the way that it showed up at CES and all the ways that every single company is just AI. Yeah. And it's just they're just laughing because they know that none of this is going to be there.
And like, because they're all like fucking insiders. They've all been going forever. Yeah. They all can see through the bullshit and they all know what's like the whole one of my favorite things was about one of them like talking about how they couldn't talk about it at the time, but they would go up to Palantir's booth and like turn off all the monitors with their remote. Right? So they would all go off in the middle of a demonstration.
Flipper. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Just
it's
perfect.
That's pure anarchy. But they were pointing out how last year everything was metaverse, and strangely enough, nobody's talking about the metaverse this year.
What metaverse?
So weird.
We don't know what that word means anymore.
Yeah.
But no. So that's my one. If you're gonna think about CES coverage, go to Better Offline at Zitron's podcast because it's brilliant. I pissed myself laughing listening to it. It was so very good. It is gonzo journalism for tech. It absolutely is. It is brilliant. Okay. Rounding out Gizmo Town then. So we all got Mr. Pies. And they're all in our hands, in our homes, in our plugged into our things. How we thinking? How we going? How's that working out?
So I thought I'd be spending more time replaying things. And I have, in fact, spent most of my time helping debug the extremely beta CDI core and trying out various betas of the dual RAM Jaguar core.
Ooh, neat.
Both platforms that I've never had any exposure to, but just because they exist and people are trying to get them up and running in FPGA form, it's just very interesting. It's literally seeing how the sausage is made.
Sure. Do I have to buy the goddamn SD RAM upgrade now?
No, the only thing that requires dual RAM are very certain Saturn games where the frame rate tanks because of RAM timing, and dual RAM helps there. And Jaguar, they don't think it will. Some games will run single stick, but dual RAM is the only way to play most of Jaguar right now, but it's also extremely alpha.
Yeah.
But the CDI core, the person who is working on that literally has taken a homebrew application, gutted most of the actual homebrew, and is using it to dump how the CDI reads disks, because the way that the Mister does disk image loading isn't exactly how the CDI does things, and the CDI Redbook audio everywhere, and like none of the other consoles dealt with Redbook audio. It was all compressed digital audio. All the animation stuff on it was MPEG-2 accelerated. There was an MPEG-2 add-on for the CDI, so they've got to figure out how that thing worked and how to get it to decode the graphics. Because you'll load up a game. I can't think of the something Thunder has this extremely elaborate intro that was all FMV.
Lords of Thunder.
It will not play because the Mister isn't emulating the MPEG decoder. So there's a lot of stuff, and he's kind of dumping it all in the Discord channel under the Miscord, Mr. Discord. That it's just been very interesting to watch. But I've also been playing a lot of the arcade boards that Jotego has been putting up. He has a whole bunch of free ones, and then he's got the beta ones that are currently part of his Patreon. And it's really like neat going back and playing like the 4-player X-Men arcade game, or loading up like Shinobi 2, which only ever made it to like a dozen arcades in America, and all these other things that are just, boards that you never would have thought you'd play. I just wanted to go out and experience them. So arcade cores and really, really niche consoles are what I've been pulling up on mine recently.
Cool. Andrew?
Sigh. I heard the sigh.
there was a digital sigh.
Look, I got a lot on my plate right now, and I haven't had time.
Honestly,
is it out of the box?
No. I don't know what to plug it into, honestly. I mean, I'd have to either give it a dedicated monitor, or because eventually I want to plug it into my component TV. Right. So I'd like to get that running, but I just haven't had time to tear it apart. And
I just plugged mine into my OLED.
Yeah,
well, this is the thing. So I actually had a place to plug it in. I've got a video switcher that has all my devices on it, so I just plugged into that. So I've actually I got it fully set up. It's ready to go. I got a bunch of DOS games that I tested and all that stuff, and then it just kind of stopped. I'm now at a loss because my use case for the Mr. Pi was a little bit different from most people. So most people just want to play, retro games and build their retro game library and be able to emulate the original hardware. And I want to do that too. that's interesting and fun. But my whole kind of thing is I want to like use computer systems that I never had access to. Right. So like, you know, the Amiga stuff and the PET stuff and all the Commodore stuff. And like that's the things that I really want to explore. And I just kind of don't know where to start with all that stuff. Like it's not, there's no easy on ramp for that kind of thing. So I think I kind of need Jamie's help with at least the Amiga stuff.
So Amiga Vision is the whole collection, but it's a big virtual hard drive.
Right.
And it loads up Amiga OS and you can escape out of the front end and now you're in Workbench and you can use it like an Amiga. They've got trackers installed. They've got Deluxe Paint, various versions of Deluxe Paint installed. So it's meant to be used as both either computer. You can install this on existing hardware. Like I could image this onto my 1200 and have all of this as well. But it's like it's both the actual operating system and a front end that lets you select just games if you want to do it that way. So that's a good kind of in between.
Right.
There's a similar one for the Atari ST that it loads up into GEM, which you've got to experience at least once in your life.
I think I probably
it's a choice.
Yeah.
But from there you launch software or games or whatever. But it's a lot of the computer systems are virtual hard drives with everything installed.
I think that's the part that I'm kind of like, okay, I don't know where to go now. Like, I don't know what to do. And because there's a process, right? Like I was reading up a thing today about like, okay, here's how you get DOS 622 going kind of thing. Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, I have to remember how to use DOS 266 now. And that's kind of where I'm like, oh Lord, hi mem.sys. Oh dear. I kind of remember this.
Any of the 0 megahertz DOS games that you installed are all single-use hard drives.
They're just good.
But you can exit.
You can just run those.
But you can exit out back into DOS and do DOS stuff because the operating system is there with everything else. Yeah. So,
do you know if it's had any issues? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I've been looking it up. The TurboGrafx CD used Redbook as well. So I'm wondering if there's any issues with that running on a Mister.
Not that I've heard. I don't think I've fired up anything TurboGrafx 16, but I have fired up some Neo Geo CD stuff. And it's
I remember if we played the Turbo CD stuff on a CD player, once you skip past the initial track, you could actually play the audio direct.
Yeah, the same with a lot of early PC games. You could just listen to all the CD audio tracks.
I remember putting the MechWarrior 2 CD in my CD player and just playing the soundtrack. And it was really good.
It had an epic soundtrack.
It really did. But yeah, I hope to explore more of that. For example, on the Pixels and Puppets YouTube channel. That's where I actually think that would be a good place to put a lot of like Kevin experiences the Amiga for the first time ever. Like that would be kind of fun, I think. I
think having someone there to kind of walk you through like a little bit, like you can experience the OS, but then also to fire up a few of the different games that were popular on the things, just so you can experience it. Not necessarily to do like a full playthrough, but go and listen to like how Lemmings is different than the PC version on the Amiga and load up one of the Psygnosis weird side-scrolling shooters they made.
That's it. I never got to play any of that stuff, right? So it's like it's like me going through all the TI-99 4A games that I never got to play, but now I do get to play them because I've got the hardware sitting right here. Well, I have the equivalent sitting right here, so let's have a look at them. So yeah,
absolutely,
it's cool. It's something that it's like. This is such a long-term thing, and boy, let me tell you, for a fairly minimal investment, there's a lot of payoff for this thing.
I think it'd be really good is if you said, I'm going to, like on a stream, I'm going to sit down and we're going to choose this platform, console, computer, whatever, and then people show up, like, oh, you're doing Amiga stuff, you need to look at this. And you
the Mr. Experience.
And then like you can kind of go through some like consoles that you never really got to go through. Like even if it's just like 10 minutes a game, you get a taste.
Yeah,
that's a very good idea.
I like that a lot. You know what? Let's think about that because I think that's a good idea. Again, that's kind of what I need. I need some kind of curation, right? I need some kind of like okay,
Yeah.
this is where you start. This is what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Now try this, and then just go. Right.
We'll get you sorted for various stuff, because I've
Right.
got the Amiga Vision, and I've got a TT and a bunch of other stuff. So
That sounds very good. Okay, I think that will actually do it for Gizmo Town. We got through the thing.
yeah, I thought it was going to be infinite the way this week was going.
Really,
We barely scratched the surface, but
we
it's
really
fine.
did. But you know,
we
you
did
don't
good.
need us to tell you about fucking CES. So you know.
Lord, no.
Okay, we're gonna take another actual break, and we will be back with Pixels and Tokens.
Video games.
Board games.
Video games.
Tabletop role-playing games.
Video games.
And now for Pixels and Tokens, where we talk about all kinds of gaming.
But mostly video games.
Welcome to Pixels and Tokens, where we talk about gaming, of course, and including apparently not playing games and then playing games. So we're going to start. This is going to be interesting because this started out as two separate notes, and I combined them into one because I think this will lead into an interesting and necessary discussion about the nature of live service games. So Jamie, I think, was the one that added this note. Why don't you start us off?
So, falling off of live service games, I gave Destiny a solid month and a half of just not doing anything with it. The season feels stale. The story feels done. There's no carrot. Everything feels like stick. And it wasn't good. And then Indiana Jones came out, and I'm like, hey, a game I want to play. What's up with that?
Mm-hmm.
So I played a lot of that and Diablo. And then we went back to finish off the episode's story beat before the next one started this past Tuesday. And it Destiny didn't feel good. Like, the gunplay was fine, but the actual like story hooks and the live service event they wanted you to go and do, it didn't grab me. It was like a revisit of the Prison of Elders. And I liked the Prison of Elders in Destiny 1. Like, it was a good thing to go in and do and then leave with some loot. But this felt like, do this. Now do it again. Oh, you got to do it a second time to finish it. And it's just like, it wasn't engaging with it in a way that I wanted to. Like, it wasn't, hey, I want to do this. It was, do it 3 times. Okay, now you're done the story. It was really not a positive experience with their hook. Yeah. This was supposed to be the thing I was supposed to be doing for a month, and I didn't want to do it 3 times.
Right.
Yeah, it was their new season event to have this the Prison of Elders, and it was I liked it a little bit more, but at least it has some variance. Like, there's like 4 or 5 different rooms that you can go to. Mm-hmm. I mean, it really mimicked the event from the previous season, where you would do a run and it would send you to different paths, basically.
The Menagerie. Not the Menagerie. No. That was from ages ago.
No, the one with Riven.
Yeah. This is the other problem. It doesn't fucking matter because it's going away in 2 months. It will never be back. And what's the point? Like, all of this just disappears when the next episode comes around, or when the next DLC period rolls around, and it just goes away. So it feels so impermanent, and there's no point to it. Because, like, someone was very fondly on a blog post remembering the Riven thing we were just referencing.
Right.
It's gone from the game. You can't do it if you wanted to.
Oh, yeah.
And story from that, actually, it was Jez who was talking about it in a video about why the ending of the Destiny story was weird. Because a lot of it was explained in cutscenes that people that were new to the game when the final shape happened never got to see.
Okay,
it was not content that was even in the game that they could experience if they came in for the end of the story.
It was largely rewarding everyone who stayed, who was there from the beginning, and it kind of punished newcomers on that way. Yeah.
But that's been Destiny's MO since the beginning.
It seems like Destiny's always kind of struggled with that, right?
And it got worse when they vaulted content because the entire vanilla story of Destiny was excised and they had to come up with a whole new route to get people in the game. And it just everything feels like it gets vaulted and goes away. And like,
well, the larger issue with Destiny is the fact that we basically just had the climax.
Yeah.
With the final shape was the climax. It was the end of the Light and Dark saga. Yeah, I mean, it was literally it was the narrative climax to this major storyline that they've been telling.
10 years of build,
and it was always going to be an uphill battle to continue to tell stories. I mean, it's obviously a rich universe. There's lots of stories to tell, but the scale at which they dropped the ball at the end of the first opportunity, the first episode of this post final shape, it was kind of jaw dropping how horribly they ended that first episode, and everybody kind of went, "Oh fuck." And I guess they have fired everybody that was any good in the company.
And this one has been, we really need QA after they've gotten rid of all of QA because they'd launched their Christmas event and immediately disabled the entirety of it because it didn't work.
Yeah, it was shocking. And again, they fired a fair chunk of the QA department, and it shows. And I mean, it's one thing to say the content's not going to be quite as strong, especially after Final Shape, but to then turn around and have it literally unplayable and have major portions of the game not work as intended. I mean, I think we've mentioned the tonic system, which was part of the season content, where here, if you want to focus on a weapon, you make this tonic and you activate it, and more of that weapon will drop. Except it was completely broken.
We regret to inform you it's not affecting any chances, and we've disabled this tonic.
If anything, it was worse because it was affecting the wrong thing. So it was just cripplingly bad. Right. And of course, the stories have been hitting about how their player base numbers are in the toilet.
Even I saw like a headline saying like, fire teams are having trouble finding full teams because the player base is so small now.
And it takes so little for the community to decide that it's over. So they just launched the Act 3 of the second episode. I haven't really gotten a sense of what people thought of it, but I think people are pretty mid on the exotic mission that they've got in there.
The exotic weapon too is pretty mid. Yeah. The problem so they launched the Christmas event. The Christmas event has been functionally unchanged for 3 years.
Yeah,
and it was completely broken to the point where they had to disable the entirety of it the day they launched it to try to fix it. And then 24 hours later, they were able to say, okay, you can do the thing. Like it should have just been turning it on. I don't know what could happen to a thing that's basically
it's not like they changed it fundamentally and that was going to be difficult. No, it was the same shit. And we also broke it.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? How do you expect us to take this? I mean, I've been trying to defend it a lot. I mean, part of me, because again, it's part of the addiction. I mean, my brain is going, I haven't been playing Destiny much.
Sunk costs.
No, that's exactly.
Yeah. Absolutely. And
this last experience has really, I think, cured me of the sunk cost fallacy of Destiny.
Right.
I still I'd like to finish Act 3. I mean, and the sad thing is it's only going to take us like an hour.
I will log in and I will finish the thing, but I'm not going hard like I did. I'm not going for weapons. It's like there's no point.
Yeah.
I do not give a crap about any gun roll they have released in the last 6 months.
And that's largely because they've done it all. I mean, they've done so much in this game and had so many different it's been extremely well executed, but at some point you hit the wall. I mean, there's only so much you can't change the game. Like when they added swords, that was cool.
Yeah.
But it added something extra.
Destiny 1.
Well, even then it was when they added it to 2, it was kind of a big deal. I mean, but again, it just changed one of your options because it was still about finding a nice balance and being able to switch it up and to just have fun with it with different loadouts. And now it's like, okay, so this new exotic weapon, it's a shotgun, it's a void shotgun, and it does this. And you're like, okay, but it'll make for some interesting builds, but by no means is it
necessary.
You don't need it to play the game next season. So and that's when you get to the point where you realize these new weapons aren't critical, and then you realize, oh, okay, well, I mean, obviously I can still play the game and enjoy it with everything that I've got. I don't need any of the new shit. And then all of a sudden, boom, at least I'm getting the great story. Actually, we've really cut back on the story. So we've only been doing an hour of content every month at this point.
Or for the past 5 seasons, you could craft the weapons that were part of the seasonal drop. And then this season they said, oh, no, we're not doing that anymore because everyone gets the gun they want through crafting, and now they don't have to grind the things. But now I don't want to grind the things because I don't want to have to spend 6 hours trying to find one roll of a gun I want. My vault's already full. Like there's so much crap, and I don't use any of it. It's
been the perfect storm to give people an excuse to stop playing, and people have stopped playing.
Yeah,
like as to Cross, and I know you've been trying to not talk about Warframe, and I respect that. But as to Cross, who was one of the
don't worry.
Yeah, one of the major Destiny streamers, as to Cross. Had been his entire time he's been streaming this game. People have been yelling at him in chat to play Warframe. And he's like, "Fuck off! I'm not playing Warframe." And then last month he said, "You know what? Fine." Because obviously with the state of Destiny, he's been trying out new shit, and he almost immediately went, "Oh my God, I can't believe this has been out for 10 years and I haven't been playing it."
Macdix was the same thing.
And a lot of his video, he did a whole video about how all the shit that he's been begging for from Destiny has been in Warframe. And he's beside himself now, realizing, and he's just like you. He's been just gorging on this content that's been building up over 10 years and just enjoying the living shit out of it. I mean, he's all in now, and I mean, he's still trying to make, because Destiny's still his bread and butter, but if people start reacting more to these Warframe videos, he'll cheerfully pivot.
Macdix was the same. Like he came to a story beat and he's like, my God, this is like, Destiny has hit this maybe once, and this is the first story beat, and then the next one hits, and he's like, this one's even better. What's going on? Like, how can they keep
How the fuck am I missing out on this?
Yeah.
Astacross yesterday posted a 25-minute video. How is this game free to play? And that's I'll link that in the show notes.
Thank
because this is it. This is where he is now, and he's been putting the videos up, and that's got 151,000 views already, which is some good numbers for him. I mean, during peak Destiny, he was probably getting 500,000, but these days he's hitting 200. And even
Destiny streamers
and
are
actually
branching out.
This is great. I'm looking at this, and his Warframe numbers are actually really nice. Like he's got 234 talking about Warframe.
There are a number of Warframe streamers or like video like YouTubers who that's what they do for a living. Like there's not a small number of them.
You know what they've been pivoting to? A lot of them, Marvel Rivals.
Fallout. One of the guys who does a lot of gear reviews and things like that. He's gone straight up to Marvel Rivals because it's a game that's also in his wheelhouse, and people are currently looking for it.
It was another surprise, like, oh, everybody's playing this for some reason. Yeah. It shouldn't have done this, and yet it did. It's like it just got.
He started playing Path of Exile 2 to see if there was any traction on that one, and he did not get a lot of numbers for that. He was hitting like 80, 90K, 50K in some cases. So he definitely wasn't getting a lot of traction on that. I mean, these things take time, but if you start to see,
right? Like it's
Path of Exile is also like limited release. Yeah.
So, but obviously, people aren't interested in builds on PoE, but except for, of course, Musk Boy. But,
but he got banned, so
Yeah.
So I think this is also part of a larger discussion about like the nature of live service gaming, right? Because this is something we've all kind of had a lot of experience with over the past, entire lifetime of gaming. Like ever since the internet became a thing, this has kind of been a thing, right? Like ever since EverQuest 1 for me, this has been a presence, and it feels to me like this is part of an arc that almost all quote unquote live service. I mean, that live service is kind of a newish term.
Yeah.
But it's always been a thing. Like it's just any game.
MMOs ran into this.
Yeah.
Because they were the original live service.
Live service is the monkey's paw.
Yeah.
It was like, I want a video game that's going to take up my entire life.
Yeah,
and a game that I can play forever.
Yeah.
And the monkey's paw curled. And that's where we are now. And so much of gaming is and it's, but as we've seen, almost every attempt at a live service game in the last 2 years has been a colossal failure.
Right? And
almost all of them have been failures.
That's the thing. Like so many have actually just straight up failed, but even the ones that stick around, of course, there's an arc, right? There's a bell curve, and they have a crescendo, and then they hit their peak, and then they fall off. Some don't die. In fact, hey, EverQuest 1, you want to go play EverQuest 1? You can still do that. It's still going. The Daybreak Studios is still running EverQuest 1.
MMOs have always been kind of immune.
Yeah.
I mean, they
do have Heroes.
Yeah, they still have a popularity arc.
Because it got picked. People went, no, we want this.
It took a while, but
there's no more it's no more official content. It did die, and there was a long time where there was no City of Heroes. Like the MMOs will rise and fall. Like I don't think Star Wars Online,
Star Wars Galaxies,
it's immutable. Like there's what they released for it, and there's been nothing else, right?
Oh no, there's fan servers for Star Wars Galaxies. Star Wars Galaxies lives,
but official content, like there's the
Old Republic.
The
Old Republic is still going.
The Old Republic is
Old Republic's still going, for sure. But like, that's the thing, though. It's like, but obviously the peak player numbers are long gone, and I kind of having been through a few cycles like this, It feels like I feel you. I know where you're at with that thing. And this is particularly for me with Destiny. There were stakes with me in Destiny, right? Because of course, and we've talked about this before, this was the game my friends play. So I really, really wanted to get into it and love it. Now, there were a whole bunch of things that prevented that from happening. One was just the fact that the nature of that game and the nature of my brain just never actually clicked. And the other side of it was that our schedules are straight up just different, and we're adults with busy lives, and we can't quite coordinate our schedules to match. So we could never really play at the same time. And that brought a whole bunch of extra baggage along with it. So Destiny for me became just kind of a negative thing. And I had just kind of, I hit a point where I had to go, okay, you know what? Let's let it go. This is never going to happen. I've tried literally for years to force it to happen, and it's not going to happen. It came close, but I used this analogy on the Discord, and I really like it. It's the face versus wall situation. Right? You keep smashing your face. You hit a wall, and you keep hitting your face against the wall, and eventually something's going to break. Right? It's going to be your face or the wall. Something's going to go. And
you've got a couple glimmers, which I'm glad, because I know there's the good game in Destiny. Like there's moments, but the problem is they're removed from the game. They don't exist in the game anymore.
Yeah.
Like you cannot go and play 2024 Destiny because it is gone.
Yeah.
And that is mad.
And I think that's the problem. Is I kept getting the vibe is still kind of there, but that's all that is, right?
Yeah.
That's just the vibe is still there, but you got everybody who's left is still just kind of huffing the vibes.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And
no, 100%. It's all vibe vampires. That's all they're getting.
Vampires is a good name. I like that a lot.
It's it breaks my heart because I do have fond memories of Destiny, but it's the river. You can't cross the same river twice. Mm-hmm. Whereas with Warframe, I can go back and I can play content from the beginning.
Well, that's the thing that I've kind of come and the point that you guys were at when Destiny really hit, right?
Yeah.
When the heroin hit up the spine to up the Velvet Underground lyrics, right? Mm-hmm. When the rush hit. that's kind of the point I'm now at with Warframe, and I really didn't expect that. So I am now fully in it on Warframe, and that's one of the reasons why in the show notes it says I'm trying to avoid talking about Warframe, because I don't want my part of the gaming section of the podcast to just be me glowing about how awesome Warframe is, because I am genuinely having a wonderful time in Warframe. And it's the thing that I always wanted to happen in Destiny and could never make happen, suddenly and spontaneously and organically happened in Warframe. Face versus wall, the wall gave. You know, with Destiny, the face gave. That's what happened to me with these two different games. So now I am so far in it in Warframe, I can't even tell you. Like, it is, I found my flow state with it, right? Like, I found, I busted through. And the thing is, Warframe particularly is a really, really notoriously and for justifiable reasons a hard game to get into. Like, there is no easy path. You got to do fucking homework to get into Warframe. You have to read the wiki. There's no on ramps. There's no path in, except if you go outside the game. There are lots of fantastic YouTubers. MH Blackie I've talked about before, who does fantastic beginner guides. I mean, it's almost exclusively thanks to MH Blackie that I've been able to get to the point that I am in Warframe.
The community in Warframe is very, it's more welcoming than I think any other community that I've run into.
It's so strange. Like, this is, I guess, ultimately what the thing about Warframe is, and I almost think that it's partly because it's a Canadian developer, right? Like, there's just, the rules are different for Warframe. Warframe tries weird. Warframe's always been weird, but it just goes, fuck it, let's do a weird thing and try something off the wall. It's like, none of the rules apply. None of the things that all of the marketing and the kind of demographics and all of that stuff say you should do, it just tries weird shit, and for some reason and against all odds and against all reason, it works. And it just has gelled in this weird,
like, one day somebody came into the office and said, I think I want to do ship-to-ship combat in Warframe. And someone's like, you know what? Let's go.
Fuck it, let's
and then
go.
Railjack is great.
I mean, I don't want to come off like, oh, it's the perfect thing and all stuff, because they've made tons of mistakes. Like, there's
absolutely. And then not everything is in the game. There were some like 2-week events that currently aren't in the game, except that there secretly are. They can come back as regular Grenier and Corpus events, but they don't have the cutscenes. But all of the story is still there.
Yeah.
Like, you start from the beginning where Lotus wakes you up, and then you end at the current spot where things are happening. I haven't played it in a little while, but I think it's 1999 again. But
there's
it's
a time
like
loop. Let me tell you, there's a time loop that happens. It's weird.
Everything is still in the game. Like, the story is still there. They haven't taken 2 years of the game out in order to decrease install sizes.
I mean, it's more than, and then they keep adding on to it. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And this is, I think, probably one of the things that's led me to this whole thing is the blossoming understanding that, like, I've put hundreds of hours now into this game, and I still feel like I'm just beginning. You know what I mean? Like, there's still this vast amount of stuff out there that I have yet to experience, and it's just because of the long history of this thing and the weird complexity of it, and also the fact that, like, if you put in the time and you have the patience, you will get to it. That is the other side of it, you know?
Meanwhile, in Destiny, there's speculation about Destiny 1. So they recently updated the tower for the first time in years.
In 1?
in Destiny 1.
Oh, wow.
And what they did was they used dawning decorations that hadn't been used before, but they found them in a deep dive that they were intended to be used for a certain event around Taken King, but they ended up
Do you know why
doing,
this happened? They released why this happened.
Oh.
It was an aborted it was supposed to be right around the Taken King. They were supposed to do a dawning event in the new year.
But they did the Sparrow Racing instead.
And they decided against it. And instead of removing it from the game, they set the date to January 2025, thinking that was kicked far enough down the road.
Oh my God.
That they could take it out at a later date. Oops. And then they never took it out.
Oh my God. That's the worst answer for why it happened.
Literally why it happened is
that
someone chunked a date in that was 10 years down the road.
So of course,
this
what happens?
Be around by then.
people see this and they're like, oh my God, this is new. They're going to do something with Destiny 1. Maybe they're finally going to do a remaster of Destiny 1. And then speculation begins. It's like if you were to sit down and if they were to make a playable version of the story content from Destiny 1 and just like, make it a series of strikes and, even you could even have some kind of raid content and give you a loadout. Yeah. You don't have to earn it. Just here's the way you can experience the Destiny story from the beginning.
Video game, for example.
And that would probably be a very, very successful endeavor. I mean, every Destiny player would pay to do that. Is it just be able to play through it on a revive, like if it just D1 on the D2 system with the improvements to quality of life.
Sure.
It would probably be a very successful thing. And I'm sure Bungie would say, sounds good. We'd love to do it. Don't have time. We're working on a marathon.
Was such a broken engine. It took them so long to do anything in the engine. I think taking stuff out of it would be a monumental effort.
It would turn out to be something like the Final Fantasy VII remake, where it was all people like me were asking was just redo Final Fantasy VII with higher resolution textures. Just give me the battle renders walking around in the real world. That's all I wanted. I didn't want the low poly versions screwing around in pre-rendered backgrounds. Just make that prettier, make things run in a nice crisp resolution, and I'll be happy. And they went, we could do that, or we could do a complete ground up,
completely remake the whole thing,
full on $500 million remake of the whole goddamn game. I'm like, no, that's too much. Don't give me
parts.
That. Yeah, in 3 parts.
Yeah.
For one game. So again, monkey's paw curl.
The monkey paw curled. Yeah. Oh, you want this? Oh
yeah. So I mean, and Destiny fans have been quite vocal about their desire to replay that old content, and the fact that Warframe says, yeah, go for it. It's not going to break anything. Like, and I mean, did you say the Destiny 1 was built on spaghetti code?
Oh yeah, the Tiger, the whatever version of the Tiger engine they took from Halo 3 was not good.
No, I will say there is an Achilles heel, not an Achilles heel, but like there's a problem there in that, like, boy, is it confusing to follow the story if you just joined Warframe recently.
So going through it in a chronological order is it's going to take a little shepherding.
But
it's interesting.
That's available though. Like you can just look up a thing that says, okay, do the quests in this order, and you will get the story, right? Like
there is a thing in the HUD that will tell you what the next thing should be. It's just not super obvious.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they want you to be involved in the current material.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the new hotness is where all the work is gone, and they want you to enjoy it.
They want you to dive into the new shit, which is understandable. But yeah, if it would be nice, and again, this is something Destiny when they promised they were doing it. They created the new light system, and it was not successful by pretty much any metric. I don't think anybody really felt like it was a good start for somebody who had never played Destiny. There's any number of videos online of people trying to get into Destiny with the new light system, and it was better than it was, which is all they could really do. But they just weren't
video where he got his non-gamer wife to start up a character in Destiny and just documenting her trying to figure out the fuck is going on in that game.
But
was disheartening. Like, this is how new people interact with this game.
We, as long-term players, we thought that they had created a system where people could start playing and feel like they know what they're doing, and that turned out to not be the case.
There's minimal hand-holding that kicks you to the tower and then inundates you with the newest events that you have no idea aren't what you should be doing next.
Yeah.
But with the failure of all the major live service releases, and the fact that a bunch of these games clearly had live service elements ripped out of them to just present them in a more straightforward manner, and even then it seems pretty clear that they've gutted some of these recent titles. We're in a transitional period now, but they still want to have games that have this long-term playability. And even Destiny would be nice if I could stop playing for a couple of months and not feel like I can't get back into it, because that was always the problem with Destiny. It was like, if you stop playing and at some point you're like, I should fire up Destiny again, and they just made it feel like, nope, you missed it. The boat's gone. It's a round the world cruise. It's not coming back through. And you're like, okay, like Jamie right now is at the point where he's obviously ready to just bail. And I feel very similar. And this comes back to the way I felt when World of Warcraft came out. Everybody was playing World of Warcraft, and I said very smugly, I would rather play single player games with an experience and play it for 20 hours and be done and move on than put all of my time into one game. And I was very particular about that until basically Destiny came out, and then I went, fuck, all right, I guess I'm stuck now. So now I'm at the point where I've got an exit. D2 or D4, I should say. D4 is fun. It's very surprising that this last season was the one that got us to rip through until Halo content, like far deep into the end game. It took that long for us to just somehow just clicked, and we were willing to dig in.
I think it's the fact that you're not fighting against most of the game wanting you to do it one way.
Right.
Like they've made it a lot better for making builds, and it felt punishing the first season of Diablo 4 trying to try stuff out, because you couldn't. Like, you had to spend all of your money to respec, and then now you're screwed.
No, and you committed yourself to this path, you're screwed. And now with the next season, where we're going to be able to actually have loadouts, I mean, that's huge. Yeah. I'm a little worried about the next season for how much time I'm going to end up spending on that. Because as we'll discuss, I mean, I finally played a video game, which was nice over the holidays. But
I don't believe you.
With the state of there's not a lot of major live service titles that are coming out that people seem to be actually excited about. They've kind of gone low key, or they're aiming more they're trying to pretend they're more like an MMO, because you can still be an MMO and people won't be as mad about it, because an MMO is supposed to last forever. But these action live service titles, well, that's just
it's
a money grab.
Strange. It's like the difference between an MMO and a live service game. What the hell even is that? Like, why? It's just a different name for the same thing. Like,
MMO is supposed to have spreadsheet connotations. Okay. It's supposed to be more like World of Warcraft. It's the sitting at a tabletop role playing game experience.
This numbers.
Whereas live service is, this is your dumb shooter man. Now dumb shooter man's in the new space without having to get dumb shooter man 2.
Right.
Your battle pass. New battle pass.
The problem with live services, I think for the longest time, the golden child was Destiny. It was the one that persisted. It's the one that had a fairly solid player base. And now that all the Bondo is flaked off, everyone's like, well, if they can't do it, what's going to keep our game going? So it's not, it's like, I mean, there's tons of good live service games. Don't listen to me. Play a live service game. You'll probably like it. But for the love of God, stop when you're done. Like, don't push.
Yeah.
Because then you're just going to resent it when you eventually do. Like, it's what happened with me in World of Warcraft. I'm like, I'm paying $15 a month to go to do a job, and that's not what you want to feel like. So
I think this is one of the things that's brilliant about why has Warframe lasted so long, and why is it still like it's growing? Like the player base is growing currently, probably because Destiny is not.
I think it's the free to play.
Yeah, well, it's the free to play, but it's also their free to play model is not exploitive. That is a huge part of it. But it's also that there's a weird like everything that is important is in some way time gated. Right. So you can't mainline through Warframe. You have to pace yourself. You have to take breaks. There's literally daily limits on how much stuff you can do. Right. And that is such a brilliant way of going, you know what? You're good. Right? Like you're just breathe, take a breath. It's fine. You do not have to be glued to your screen 24/7. You know what I mean? Like it's they've managed to figure out a way to
and you're never going to miss something. Like it's not like this is like so primes rotate through the games. You do not need prime warframes.
No, you don't. Like need them.
And
here, they will come back. This is the thing.
And they will come back if you want them. You get some more points.
Vaulted is just on a cycle. It'll come back. Right.
And there's also warframe.market where you can go and get currently vaulted prime warframes for platinum, which you can kind of soak up through your skin by playing the game.
Yeah.
So it's not a game where you're FOMOing. Like, I missed Nidus Prime. Nidus is my main. I played like 200% more Nidus than anything else. I missed Nidus Prime. I came back to the game. I already had some plat. I was able to buy and craft Nidus Prime. Like it wasn't a big thing. And if I wanted to wait until he came back in the game, then I could earn him through the regular method of getting Prime Warframes.
Yeah, there's always a way, and it's never something that you feel that you need to do. There's no addiction loop. It's like there is kind of an addiction loop, but it's like you want to do this, you don't need to do this. It's just fun. You want to do it because you're enjoying it.
And there are so many Warframes that the way you want to play the game is represented somehow.
59 is the current number.
Yeah.
Dear God. 59, and they're all different. Like significantly different. I think I've encountered maybe two that I'm like, oh, this power is kind of a variant of this.
So what is it? The two different fast ones.
So the Mag is fast and Gauss is fast.
Yeah, they've kind of got a little bit of a crossover.
Yeah,
but there's different powers that go with that. But like you're an Inaros main, right?
I am an Inaros main, absolutely.
And I bounced between a lot of different things. I played a lot of Rhino. I played a lot of Xcal. I played a lot of Umbra Xcal. And then I went to Nidus, and I'm like, ooh, because this is a little bit of crowd control. This is a little bit of group buff. It's a little bit of self maintenance because there's no shield and my health is forever regenerating. Like it's a very different Warframe to the way the other ones are structured.
Maybe and it really fit me. Themed, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he's infested themed.
Right. Gotcha.
But he's very different from the other Warframes, and it clicked with me. Like I bounced between several of them before finding that one, and then he's been the one I've made since. So it's more than likely there is a Warframe that you will get to, and you'll be like, "Oh, this is the one." Like this is how I do it.
It's surprising as well because I've been finding it's the ones that I didn't expect. Right. Yeah. Like I like stealthy things. I like rogues. I like rangers. So I started out with Ivara, and I really like Ivara, and I still play Ivara quite a lot. In fact, I've got Ivara Prime now, but hitting Inaros, and I'm like, holy, what is this? And then I found Wukong of all things.
Yep.
So yes, that Wukong, the monkey.
Yes.
In Warframe first, although actually an ancient Chinese deity first. But anyway, Wukong is really neat. I did never expected to like Wukong. I just got him because I'm like, well, I can craft it. So I crafted a Wukong. I started playing Wukong to get the mastery rank. And I'm like, holy fuck, this is really, really fun. Oh my God.
Yep.
So now I'm like maining Wukong in Steel Path for some reason. And I never expected that. And that's the thing. There's a lot of constant like, oh my God, this is neat. I never expected this to be neat. And that happens a lot.
Getting surprised is something that doesn't happen a lot in games.
Yeah.
Like Destiny, you've got your tanky guy, you've got your support healer guy, and you've got your DPS guy. And that's kind of the thing in games. Whereas in Warframe, do you want to be a supporty crowd controller that does big burst damage? Because that exists. Do you want to be the tank, but that also will shield buff when enraged all of your teammates? Because that exists. Do you want like there's these weird like edge case flavors that
exactly
somebody loves. It's great.
And this is what we keep coming back to, is that the fact that they just take the rule book and go, fuck it, throw it in a blender and see what happens, right? Like, let's just see. So anyway, that's the whole kind of point of this is like, getting into Warframe and being at the point of the arc, and I know it's going to curve and it's going to end, and at some point I'm going to go, okay, I'm done with this. But I'm at the beginning of the up point right now, and it feels really good. And it's nice that it's at least this game. You know, I'm glad that this was the game that hooked me, because I know that it's at least a semi-ethical company. So much so that I'm seriously thinking, if I've got the money, I'll fucking go to TennoCon this year.
Yeah.
It's London, Ontario. It's not that far, man.
No, it's a couple hours down the road.
This, man. But I just joined a fairly large clan. I was in a small clan before that were really kind of dormant. They literally, nobody ever chatted. There was when you signed in, there was a thing, hey, join the Discord. So I eventually went, hey, that Discord link is expired. Anybody got the new one? And it's like, oh, I don't think we have a Discord anymore. It's like, okay. So I did some research and I finally joined, and I just got in the other day, Spectrum Syndicate, which is one of the larger Warframe clans. They are a queer-friendly clan. They are part of a larger queer-friendly alliance of clans. If you go to warframe.gay,
that's a great URL.
It's a really good URL. They're really active. There's a lot of fantastic, very friendly, very helpful people. Yeah, obviously, it's for queer people and allies as well. It's a very, I wanted to go someplace that I knew I wasn't going to meet any MAGA hats. Basically,
is their dojo awesome?
Their dojo is pretty freaking awesome. In fact, that's where I found the URL. It's like when you walk into the trading post, it's just there in front of the trading post. It's like, yeah, okay, yeah, you good. You my people.
That's awesome.
So shout out to Spectrum Syndicate, because they're awesome. They got merch, man. I'm gonna get me a Spectrum Syndicate t-shirt.
You should get the pants.
I probably should. Anyway, so I think probably the lesson is, like, there is an arc for these things, and it's interesting now that we've all been playing these things for long enough that we can kind of start pinpointing where we are on that arc, right?
Yep.
And for Jamie is now at the end of the arc in Destiny. Andrew's getting there, and I'm at the beginning of the arc in Warframe.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying it. But again, it's good to kind of recognize and have the self-awareness to kind of know this is where we are. And I think the conclusion for me has been, well, we're out of sync, right? With this stuff. That is for a while, that really kind of caused me some mental distress, some emotional distress, because I want to play the same game my friends are playing. And that's just probably not going to happen just because we're out of sync with this thing. Now, of course, it'll hopefully occasionally happen with Diablo 4, and that's cool. But recognizing that this is, and it's not about like, it's not a personal thing. It's just about like circumstances that this is where we are. We're just at different points on the arc, and that's okay. And you can just let it happen. Let the water flow. Follow the wave, and you'll all end up in the place that you should be. Right. That's kind of the lesson I've come to at the end of all this. So that's kind of why I'm in a good place with all of this stuff. Is that like, oh wait, this is what's happening, right?
If you want to do a Warframe stream some weekend, let me know because I've got characters.
I'm gonna fucking railjack it up. This is one of the things that the very first Warframe stream I want to do on the Pixels and Puppets channel, I want to do railjack. And the reason I want to do railjack is because it's one of the game modes, and there's a whole bunch of different game modes in Warframe. Railjack is kind of not talked about a lot. It didn't have the best launch. It didn't launch in a great state. So the community in general kind of fell off it. It's kind of there vestigially. Not a lot of people play it. I played it. I couldn't believe how good it was. They put some fucking work into this thing, and it is way deeper than I ever expected. It's not just shooting spaceships. There's a lot more to it.
No, so 100%.
I am going to put a fucking spotlight on Railjack. And that's one of the first streams. And if we were to do it multiplayer, let me tell you, you will have the fucking time of your life. I guarantee you will love Railjack. If we get into Railjack multiplayer, you can take it to the bank. You will enjoy a Railjack.
I think I have to unlock it, but I can get that done.
We can get you there, man. It's a kind of a pain in the ass to grind, but we can do that. We can do it in a couple of hours.
It's a bit surprising that you have to unlock that mode.
Any of this stuff you really kind of have to do some work for.
Some of it you do. If you want to play the plat, you can just buy a Railjack, but there is a quest to unlock a Railjack as well. It's just a bit of a pain in the ass grind.
It's the same as getting a necromech. You've got to go through the quest and then get the bits, and they drop, but they're not super common.
Yeah, the grinding and then necromech is a kind of a pain in the ass. Or you could just pay the plat, but at least there is a path to get it without paying the plat, right? So
absolutely, like anything in the game you can get without dropping currency for. But
I just assumed it was an actual game mode and not just
it is.
It's a plot point. Like it's a whole kind of story area.
It's part of the plot, and it's also a sort of semi-separate game mode. There's a long story. We will stream we'll railjack in public. That's what I want to call.
There you go.
Stream. We're gonna railjack in public. Hello, and we'll get into that at some point on the Pixels and Puppets YouTube channel. Okay, moving on. Activision spent $2 billion with a B dollars on 3 Call of Duty games ?
So it was actually, it's not something they brag about. This actually came out in a court It came out in a court document that over the course of the last 3 Call of Duty games, the total development costs were nearly $2 billion. Just to give you an idea. You
can buy a small piece of Twitter for
cost. That. My God. The fact that, I mean, obviously that means they're making more than that with these games. But the fact that they said
that obvious.
But it was like $750 million for the last Call of Duty game. And I have a feeling a lot of that is just because it's annualized. So they have to get so many people working infinite crunch time that's just where the money goes, and that's not including advertising. That's a whole other thing, and because they spend a lot advertising the shit out of them too. So the fact that the dev costs are that colossal, and considering one of those games was a fucking remake, is just stunning.
In the link it says Black Ops Cold War from 2020 cost $700 million to develop and sold 30 million copies. 30 million at $80 is $2.4 billion.
Yeah.
So,
and that's before Game Pass took it over too. So,
I mean, if they're shifting that many copies, and the Call of Duty never goes on sale that I've ever seen.
No.
So, like, if they're pulling in like between $70 and $80 per copy, that's
some of that goes to the well, I mean, when you were selling hard copies, obviously a chunk of that went to the retailer,
manufacturing, and whatnot.
So it's just puts it into perspective about why these mega corporations are so involved. I mean, my God. I mean, on a similar note, it came out that Disney spent $650 million on Andor for both seasons. of the show,
For both
which is just absolutely incredible amount of money on a television series as good as it is. Yeah. Okay. So we have to mention that Kevin just set off some balloons in his Discord. You made a hand gesture. Thumbs up. I think it looked like you did a thumbs up, maybe something.
They were just balloons went soaring.
Happened on my Discord video
on your webcam.
I don't know.
It's something in the plugin. You did a hand gesture that set off the balloons.
I'm being hacked.
That could be it. Could be maybe there's a big Star Wars fan in the. Oh wait, are we live? Oh, maybe that's what's happening. Hi, Discord. I guess you're getting a live stream today. That's fun.
That's a bit of money to spend on a TV show.
Right, exactly. And there's no way they greenlit at that scale.
It was a great show.
But it's basically like saying every episode was $100 million movie, which is nuts. I mean, they were great. I mean, even if you call it, it's because I think it was 8 episodes. So it's like $50 million an episode to make the show. And I mean, it was for a streaming series. It's not like they were selling tickets, right? So the fact that money is basically coming out of the monthly subscription cost is bananas. And I really feel like, and I guess my point is that I really feel like these corporations are getting ready to just sever. There's just so much risk now, and the scale of it is just so massive that I think they're finally getting to a point where they're realizing how utterly insane this stuff is, and it's going to be free fall very, very soon.
Well, there comes a
movies and video game development
where number no longer go up.
Yeah. Right? And it's as soon as that number equalizes, like if $2 billion brings in $2 billion, that's it. They're out. They're going to completely decide that that's not where they want to be anymore.
It's not just a matter of making a profit. It's a matter of making enough profit. All right. It's a matter of being past a certain point. So if it's not past a certain point, cut it. And that's Warner Brothers.
And it's going to be full collapse when it happens. I mean, because all of these companies are going to just sever at the same time and just cease to exist. And just golden parachutes for everybody at the top.
Blood in the water.
Hundreds of thousands of unemployed developers and video effects makers. It's going to get very ugly when this all starts to fall apart.
Yep.
On a lighter note, you played a game.
So
how do we pivot from that? Let's try this.
So I got the PS5 Pro.
Oh, okay. Good.
And because of the
are you enjoying the pisser?
Yes.
You pissing
Can you detect the pisser?
No, I definitely can't say I've immediately found.
I'm not going to say
the,
told you so.
The hook,
but
no.
Told you so.
I knew that coming in. It was
my new
still going to be.
Is now called Undetectable Pisser.
There you go. So I got the disc drive as a Christmas gift from my brother.
All right.
So because I only had the unit for a couple of days before I went down to visit anyway, so it wasn't a big deal. But I had already bought a couple of games, and one of those games was Astrobot.
Oh, okay.
And fucking hell, it is just bliss. Like it is just, if you played Astro's Playroom, which was the demo on PS5, that was still one of the best games on the system. And so this is just that writ large, and it's just a tremendous experience. It's so satisfying, and there's so much discovery in it, just simple little things. You're like, how am I going to get through this one? And then it turns out that maybe there's a power up that you'll get, and it's very linear. There's some flexibility to it, but it's a collectathon. There's a lot of things, a lot of other bots to get.
Platformer.
And I rail on nostalgia-bation a lot, and the fact that this game, all of the skins, all of the different bots are callbacks to other video games, not just PlayStation games, but games that were on PlayStation. So there's no Master Chief running around, but there's a lot of other characters, and it is fun to recognize the bot that you just rescued, and their clever little reference to it. What's also fun is that every bot also has basically a toy that goes with them, and there's a gotcha game in it, which was also part of the Astro's Playroom. So as you unlock the gotcha stuff, you'll find the device for the bot, and then throughout the hub world, you'll see the bots just interacting with each other and just sitting there. And then once they've got their toy, you can basically smack them, and then a little animation happens. And the animators for this game are Pixar level people.
Mhm.
I mean, they're just absolutely delightful, beautifully executed animations everywhere throughout this game. All the little things running around, and it was one of the best experiences I've had. And I am currently at the final level, the Grandmaster Challenge. I have unlocked every single bot, every single element, and this is the very final last level, and it's a motherfucker. It's legit. It's challenging. But it's one of those. It's good challenging. Like, it's
Right.
just a matter of, the challenge levels basically don't have checkpoints, so you have to rip through and get everything done perfectly. And I wasn't expecting the final one to be like that. But it's satisfying. And it also, I literally got to the very final part, and I got hit at the absolute end of it.
Oh yeah.
And I was okay with that, because it's a perfect example of where once it's done, it's done. That's it. The game's over. And it's one of those moments where you're going to be sad that experience is over. And it's such a beautiful, unique game, and there's so little like it out there. And it's just so great that it was so celebrated. Like, the fact that it won those game awards, and it's a great example of a title where people have done videos about how, like, fucking Astrobot winning game of the year, this is bullshit, I'm going to play it and show how shitty it is. And then they go, oh, okay. Oh no, I get it now. Yeah, no. And the way it uses the haptics on the controller, and you'll get to something and you have to blow into the controller to make it to make the fans go, and just so many just little moments throughout the game that are just tremendously satisfying. So it's just been,
right. It's getting something.
I don't know. I'm not sure what's coming out for it. There was just a little. There was a holiday level. I don't know. There was a holiday level. I think that might have been what they announced, which I've played through, and that was fun too. Just a nice little level. And again, it's done. I experienced it. It's fun. I can go back and pick it up and play it again if I want. I can wipe it out and start over again, and just experience it all again, because I have the disc and I can pop it in, and that's the beautiful thing about it. And I mean, obviously, if I plug this game, if I fire up this game after the apocalypse and I can't talk to the Sony servers, I don't know if I'll be able to pop it in and actually have it load and be playable. But at least I saved a few bucks on the disc. So the disc drive itself, it makes noise, which I'm a little surprised about. Like, it makes a weird vibration, but realistically, it still just installs the game to the hard drive. There's no moment where it's got to fire up the game to find a moment. It's literally just installing the bulk of it off of it, and then downloading everything else.
So much faster. You don't want to.
Oh my god!
The fucking CD.
No, Lord, no. So it's just a little weird how much noise it makes when it powers up sometimes. And it did have some weird glitching one time too, where I had put it in suspension, and then I came back to it, and I would start playing, and then it would kick back to the menu, and then I'd have to manually go back into the game, and then I restarted the PS5, and it worked fine. So it was interesting to find a weird glitch like that, but it didn't come back up again after that. So, but it was nice to play a game that's not Diablo or Destiny, and I've got a lot more in the chamber.
You played a game that didn't start with D.
I bought Stellar Blade, which is the infamous I want to say, let's call it a horny game.
It's the horny game.
The horny game.
Okay.
They sold a skin that basically made the protagonist look naked.
Yeah, but it makes the game harder when you do that, which is funny. But I'm looking forward to playing that, because it is a beautiful game. There's no question. It's a really stunning action title. I'm looking forward to. Hopefully, it's not going to be Dark Souls difficult. Hopefully, I never did manage to get into Nier Automata, which was very popular, but I just sucked at it. So I'm afraid that I'm going to be in the same boat for that one. But let's see what happens.
Well, this is one of the things I'm kind of like going, because the other thing that, of course, Digital Extremes is currently working on is Soulframe, which is going to be, it's currently in beta, I think. And it's going to be their version of Souls-like. But of course, by the people who brought you Warframe. So I'm like, this could be the one. Like, this might actually work for me. I don't know. We'll see.
Get you to the point where, if and Astrobot has its moments where the challenge levels are very difficult, and you do have to learn the patterns and figure out how to get through things. So it's possible that the skills I have picked up on Astrobot through this may be just the push that I needed to be able to play Elden Ring.
Well, that's one of the things that Dragon's Dogma 2 really did for me, was kind of going, okay, you can do this. It's okay to have some pushback. You can figure this out. This is something that is, yes, it's challenging, but it's not impossible. You just have to learn it, right? So, yes, there's a learning curve. No, it's not just going to be handed to you. No, it's not easy, but it's still possible. So you can figure this stuff out. So we're going to end the podcast, the first podcast of 2025, with Doom CAPTCHA ? And yes, I did click on it, so I know what this is, but somebody explain this.
It's a little proof of concept. Somebody made a web-based Doom level. So they took a nightmare Doom level where there's a bunch of imps trapped in a center courtyard, and you've got to kill 3 enemies to prove that you're human. And the secret is to backpedal to the corner where you can't see the imps, and then shoot until the zombies walk at you, and then you just keep killing them. But it's
also very loud.
It's so neat that someone
I'm afraid to click on it right now because it may go out on the podcast, like recording.
Someone managed to get Doom running in a Web Foundations window and got it to recognize when you killed 3 enemies in it as a form of human verification, as a CAPTCHA. It's just, it's dumb.
Try to do that, OpenAI.
I just love that it exists. Like, Doom is everywhere. It's the old Slashdot joke, comment joke is, will it run Doom?
Yep. There's only one answer to will it run Doom, and the answer is always yes.
Yes.
All right, that'll do it. I think we're good. You good? Everybody good?
I'm good.
We did the thing. All right. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Kevin.
And shout out to Sloot if you're still listening. You may actually be. In fact, you're probably the one person that listens to this far into the podcast. Thank you, everybody. As always, OperationPuppet.com for all of the links. Join the Discord, etc., and so on. And we will catch you. I'm going to make sure the right button is here. Outro says that one says outro. Yes. Okay. We'll catch you next time. You have been listening to Pixels and Puppets, the Operation Puppet podcast. Visit www.operationpuppet.com for all our links. Tell your friends, give us a rating wherever you get your podcasts, and join us again because nothing is more entertaining than aging nerds giving their opinions on the internet.